Good morning to everybody. Thank you all for being here today. We might get one more person, hopefully with Letitia. But I did want to get you guys this book in particular. And one is because we had Terry come and speak with us last 2 weeks ago. And Terry has a program called the Entrepreneur Members Club. And I actually was part of that for a season, learning about what they're doing and how they're doing things. And the first book that they read together as a group was this one called Atomic Habits. What was really good about this particular book was that it spoke to the importance of having schedules, routines, things that we do on a regular basis. One, for the sake of getting into the routine that we want to have happen regularly. That, and, but also using that routine and building upon that to become different things. Where, in particular, a lot of the conversation that we were having since it was Terry about using social media, about intentionally this social media, engage it, and use it on purpose. I know one thing you mentioned last week was that purpose. It can be a tool for our business. It can be a tool to help us. If we do set up our page and we intentionally draw in the people and like the pages that feed us and give us something, but it also could just be simply entertainment. And so one thing that one is in the book is at the very back. I was actually just looking for this. At the very back, there is page 268. And he goes, how to apply the ideas to things. And so this is really important because developing the atomic habits could be good for anything. It could be good for food. It could be good for working out. It could be good for spending time with certain people, spending time on the phone with certain folks, all types of habits that we want to develop. But it also can be really good for business in particular. And so he has a couple of links, one for business, he has another one for parenting. But all that to say that I do check that out in the very 65 to download the chapter on topichabits.com/business. And so usually this I would actually encourage, and we're going to do our best to incentivize folks to interact on Google Classroom. Google Classroom is you're able to take the quizzes, of course, and interact a little bit on there. There's the videos from other trainings and so forth. But Google Classroom also does have a stream. You can post comments, leave comments, and things like that. And so I definitely want us to engage next number of weeks. One, because the book is really good. But apart from that, it's really going to be about applying things, right? And that's one of the biggest things we want to emphasize with the Level Up program is not just the obtaining of information, but the application. And so we can start using this book, applying our different, if you will, habits to our business, to our personal lives, and see the growth that can happen by virtue of doing these things on a consistent basis, on a regular basis. Then we can definitely see it growing while we're in the classroom, or rather while we're in this cohort. So I did want to make sure that everyone was aware of that. I will be getting the remaining copies to other folks. But what I did want to do today, this is our second time having Tavari come and speak with us. If you guys remember, he was in one of our trainings before, talking about the importance of fiscal management. And this is particularly at the beginning of a nonprofit organization versus, hey, like maybe we should do fiscal in like year 3. Right. Maybe I should have somebody work on my finances. Like we'll be towards the importance of getting started ASAP. Yes. Because things can again be negatively affected if we don't have our finances in order off the top. But today he's actually going to be talking to us a little bit more in depth about QuickBooks in particular. And this is to plug one. I know Alicia did ask the questions in particular, hey, I want to use QuickBooks, but I'm not exactly sure what to do. Can someone go over QuickBooks? And I'm like, yes, and I'm sure some other folks can use it too, that are in the to do is hear you guys' questions when we do meet on Monday or Tuesday, hear what you guys are doing, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you guys are like, hey, you know what, I really need somebody to talk about this, then I'm just gonna go and start hitting the streets, finding the folks within the organization or without, right? So some folks are gonna be from YCD, like Tavari, and some folks are folks that I've met, I've learned, I've grown up with, and have experience in these particular areas. So again, if you guys have any questions, want to make sure to ask him today while he's here about QuickBooks, but then two, when we do meet in other capacities, make sure you're asking questions. This is the problem I'm having. I love this part. This is going well with my business, but I don't know how to do this, or I'll figure this out, and I'll do my best to bring in somebody that can speak directly to those things. So yeah, without further ado, I want to introduce Tavari, one of our accountants at YCD. He was once a CFO, and he will let everybody know that was not something that he wants to do ever again. Maybe later down the line, when there's like a whole lot of filling that has taken place. A lot more has been, it's like, hey, maybe I can jump back into this. But until then, he's like, I'm sticking with accounting.
That's right, that's right.
But yeah, please take it away. And again, you all please feel to ask questions.
A lot of us do not think about the importance aspects of setting up how you're going to keep your books. We're more worried about the mission and how we get the mission done. But if you want to be a nonprofit and you want to be successful, that mission has to also incorporate your finances. How are you going to obtain them? How are you going to track them? How are you going to say, hey, and I honored the grant. Please reimburse me, and the next time I come out and apply, that you grant me, you reward me again. A lot of nonprofits will use QuickBooks, 90s. A lot of us hear me say, it tracks your $9.99s that you're not paying employees benefits for. It's really important on that part, because when you go to report at the end of the year, at the end of your fiscal year, it's going to report everything that you spent out. So everybody who you gave that you were paying as contractors and they're not on your books for benefits and stuff, it tracks all of that for you. It shows you where your money is going. It shows them where your money is going. All of that. QuickBooks is very beautiful. You don't have to use QuickBooks. You can do this through, they got templates through Excel or Google Sheets that you could use to try to track the money flow. I will tell you this, that the onus is on you. Errors, everything will be on you. QuickBooks is actually designed to say, hey, if there was an error that it didn't catch, that they will actually take some ownership in that. That part.
Right.
That part. I don't want to be a CFO because of all the ownership that falls on me. There was an incident at a job that I was at, and I was a CFO, and things happened. I tracked everything that I needed to track. But when the DOJ calls your phone, you start sweating. Right? Your heart gets to going. You like, I don't want to go to jail for this. I don't want to go to jail for this. Right? But that ownership, nobody else is responsible for the money but the CFO. Thank God. QuickBooks. Because when I pulled it, everything. I didn't have to go search. I didn't have to go, where did I put this? Where did I put that? Oh, right there. So when I pulled that register, and they said, you free to go, you can go. You say, I've been free all my life. But it's a different type of free when you know you could have been in jail.
Right.
So I stand behind QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks. And I recommend that anybody that is looking to start their business to go through QuickBooks. Now, let me ask before I get into it, because I'm really into QuickBooks. Where are you guys? Are you familiar with QuickBooks at all?
No.
No?
I know about QuickBooks, but
You-
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
I know about it, but I hate
Oh, you hate See, at least you can honest, right?
Right,
a lot
right.
of people are like, I want to, and it really is just, I just hate numbers, right? There's a lot of people who hate numbers. Me, numbers is a love language for me. I love numbers. It's like, what? You said, how you quantify that?
Say it again.
Right? Don't say that number one more time. The reason why I love numbers is because numbers don't lie. You have to interpretate English. You have to interpretate body language. You have to interpretate a look. Numbers is not, there's no interpretation. They are what they are. Now, here's the issue. Can you make an error with numbers? Yes, because the human that is doing it is error. He's error or she's error prone, right? But numbers themselves are what it is. Now, when you look at your nonprofit and you look at it like where I'm at with YCD, people who don't know YCD gonna go pull historical information. But they're going to pull the numbers. The numbers will represent you. Like your credit scores, right? If you go for a loan, you never meet the underwriter. You never meet the person who actually approves your loan. What they pull is your numbers. So your nonprofit has to read the same way. So this is why QuickBooks is important. So when we look at QuickBooks, we look at the payroll, right? You guys don't like numbers, right? But when you get staff, you can't get away from numbers. Because everybody don't want their paycheck. Right? And if you don't have a payroll department, guess who's doing the numbers? The owners. Right? Now, if you don't want to do a whole lot of numbers, I tell you, hire people that's contracted. Because all you have to do is one flat number. If you hire people who are W-2s that you're paying hourly or you're paying salary, you got to account for federal, state, county, health, retirement, workers' compensation, and then you got to have your own insurance bucket for the company itself. So you got all these other numbers you got to do to cut one check. One check. And you're like, I don't want to do this no more. You be ready to quit right after that. You just be like, we don't need to do this no more. But when we go through QuickBooks and we look at it and we get into it, I had, excuse me, because I had left my laptop at home. I was rushing, so I'm gonna have to wing it just a little bit here. But we're gonna go through it.
To be more clear, the thing to be adjusted.
Yeah, I was just telling him I'm gonna try to work with it the best my ability. I know it's gonna be a
You can
thing.
move it backward, so. You can move it backward a little bit. Set your way backward.
Yeah. Okay. You have to put it in front of it a little bit so that the projector is landing on the ground, on the table. And then it's like, put the projector down here, and it'll lean up right here. Yeah,
To adjust it, because it's kind of like a logical here.
yeah. Is that good?
Yeah, I'm gonna go see if I can go upstairs.
I think
to
that
What
work.
if we put it without the book?
Okay.
I think it'll come.
No, yeah, it'll end up being too short, but let's see, just to be
Okay,
sure.
let me
Yeah,
see
see
if I
that?
can do that.
But it doesn't have that big assumption. That's
Right,
right.
right, absolutely. Give me 1 second.
That's clear, yeah?
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, can y'all see it back there?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, you
And
can say.
how's it work for you?
Move.
Yeah.
Move it.
Yeah, look at the show behind it. That's too cool. So you can see. You can see. don't know how the setting here is done. And it's the contrast. Oh, that looks better. When you get closer, it looks better.
Yeah.
So, you don't know.
Yeah,
You don't
no,
know.
it's better.
Yeah.
So, see if I can log into.
Do you want to do the cover so you can do any password stuff? Or?
Yeah, so now unplug it for a second, because I need to get in, I'm gonna get into my other one. Try not to have to log into that one. There's no workaround, no portion on it.
Okay.
I can sign it this way. And then I'll do the other.
So what are some of your concerns about using QuickBooks as I go through this?
How much does it cost?
So for nonprofits, it's actually free.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you just have to be a true registered 501(c) nonprofit. So you have to make sure that you registered with the city, the state, the county. You have to make sure that you're on the charitable registration list for the state. And then once you do that, because they're going to give you an EIN number. So when you go to QuickBooks, they're going to ask you if you're a nonprofit, then you're going to have to fill out that information about your nonprofit, and they give it to you for free. So cost-wise, there's no cost to it for a nonprofit. Now, if you're using it for your personal, it's a cost. And what's any other questions?
You said, I'm just gonna write down what you said. You gotta register with the state, city.
Yeah, so when you set up your nonprofit, when you initially set it up, did you go through LegalZoom or you did it yourself?
We did it ourselves.
All right, so you should have went through the city, and then you should have went through the whatever county you're in, and then the state itself. Sometimes the city will do the county for you, where you would just do the city and then the state, right? Yeah, so you San Francisco, probably San Francisco County, probably one and the same, and then you just state of California. So you probably already did
And the
all that.
state of California is with the Attorney General's office.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you said one more question?
So there's the charitable registration list. That's with. So San Francisco has one, Oakland has one, city or city design. So and then because when you're there, when you get that, then you know that you're eligible to receive grants, and that's what a lot of people need to know: are you eligible to receive them?
Okay.
And then when people want to make donations and stuff like that, they can find you on that list. Just waiting for a code and we're gonna be good to go. So in that, when we look at how many, when you talk about running your organization, how many areas are you looking to have to financially support? Like we know your salary is one, right? Are you paying for rent for where you operate at?
Yeah.
Right, so you have to track your rental payments. PG&E, right? Wi-Fi, your cell phone, a portion of your cell phone if you're not going to buy a separate phone outside of your personal phone, right? So you want to be able to track that 30% that will be covered for tax purposes at the end of the year. How much did you actually pay into your phone so that you can write it off, right? Your gas, right? Your travel for what you do. How are you going to track all of this if you're not using a system? Because you're going to need to track it all. Every time you're at work and you go somewhere and you got to fill up your tank, that's a write-off. we don't like write-offs for gas at the price that gas is right now. Because I know I'm going to work, then I'm gonna go to the grocery store, and I'm gonna go to probably happy hour. I don't run a whole tank of gas, technically at the end of the year for free. Because I'm reversing, but how are you tracking that?
Right, right.
Right? So QuickBooks helps us do that. And as soon as I get this in, I'm gonna show you what it looks like. And then, so other areas that you're looking at, so how do you make sure that when you got people who come in that are performing for you, like I'm a speaker, right? But because I work for YCD, there's no separate pay. It's just, I just don't have to I don't have to stare at a computer and actually look at the numbers all day. But other people, you would pay them to come in to provide services for you, right? But you gotta pay them. And how do you show that you paid them? Right? Even if they don't go report it at the end of the year, you gotta report it. Right? So that's the thing. See, I heard the ah. I heard that ah, that's a good ah. So regardless of someone else, if you gave somebody, let's say you gave a person a stipend, right? I said, I'm gonna give you a stipend, and they're like, okay, cool, as long as it don't cross 600, they don't have to, technically you don't have to report it, right? The person receiving the stipend. You as a nonprofit have to report it. Because you dispersed it out. So you have to keep track of that. QuickBooks does that for you. So at the end of the year when you got to do everything you need to do, and you got to fill out all these reports, you got to show the stipend you paid. You got to report how much you brought in, how much you spent out, how much did you send out, your expenses. Everything has to be tracked. There's no portion about, like I just had this one instance where there was some confusion with my other accountants. We had a miscalculation on someone's salary for the year. And in that, we had to pay it down. I had to do a spend down to make sure that the grant was actually depleted as it needed to be by the end of its fiscal year. So I had to do a really large payout to offset the miscalculation that was there. Now in that, they're like, oh wait, but we should have went this way, we should have done this way. QuickBooks automatically says this is where this goes. Well, not automatically, if you code it right, it's going to tell it where it needs to go. It's going to show it as a salary, but my notes are going to say this was a payout because of a miscalculation in the beginning of the grant year that we weren't able to actually disperse it fairly throughout the 16 months. This is why we're doing this large payout. But on my P&L sheet, on my profit and loss sheet, it's going to say that. On my balance statement, it's going to say that. All of those things is covered. I don't have to do a whole lot of extra writing to explain it because the numbers will talk for me. But what do you do when you make an error now for your nonprofit? If they gave you a grant and you didn't, you're at your third quarter of your fiscal year, right? How are you going to make sure you deplete what you needed to deplete so that when you go back and apply for the grant again, they give you more? Because you know that if you don't use it all and you go to apply again, they give you less when you go to reapply, right? We all aware about that? No. So I'm glad I said that, right? I said that. And
You have to use all of it.
you have to use all of it, and whatever you don't use, you got to give an explanation as to why you didn't use it all. If you go over that particular line item, so to speak, you got to explain why you went over. If you use it all the way up, all of your reports throughout the year explains that you don't have to do anything at the end because all your reports line up for that. So this is the complicated portion about nonprofits, is the fiscal side of it. Everybody wants to go out, do the great work. I employ everybody that do. I support everybody that do. I'm that quiet support in the back because when y'all out and y'all at happy hours, I'm like this. At 9 o'clock, this is equal to this, and then we got to make this make sense over here. I'm doing all of that while y'all having a party. Right? But when y'all come get the check for your payroll and you deposit in your bank, y'all happy. Y'all happy to see me.
Right.
And we want to keep you happy, but QuickBooks does that. QuickBooks helps us do that. So here's here's just a look at QuickBooks. Back real quick. So ours is set up like this. It says Young Community Developers, our logo at the top right there. And it shows us what we got going on over here. You got your bookmarks, you got your reports. We all hate reports, right? Right? Just like, like I will read a report, but don't ask me to make up a report. But when we go into the reports, we got this, we have, oh, this way down here.
I forgot to ask, the 600, is it 600 stipend for a whole year or a month?
So, good question, good question. So 600 and down is what doesn't impact someone who's on fixed income, right? And so what happens is you can't get 600 every 2 weeks. You can't get 600 every month. Because at the end of the year, it's 5,600, I believe it is, maybe 900, that you can get for the year. A lot of people don't understand that, and they're going, oh, I can go volunteer, they pay a stipend of 500, they pay a stipend of 600, that's right under the threshold I need to be under, but they don't understand that as they're accumulating all of these 500s that they think they get to go get away with, or the 600s that they're getting away with, after they may not report it because it's under the threshold. But whatever organization that they got it from has to report it. So a lot of times when like what we do as a common practice, what we do when we do stipends, we ask everybody who's getting a stipend to do a W-9, fill out a W-9. A lot of people, I don't want a W-9, I want the government in my stuff. And I'm like, you gonna fix income, right? We messing with your housing, right? Like I go in and I find the root cause of it, right? I'm like, you might not want to do this then. Because I don't know where else you're getting your stipends from, but we have to report it. And it's a combined annual that you have to sit under, not just a monthly. And so at the end of the year, then they coming back, well, y'all messed up my housing. No. We did not mess up your housing. You messed up your housing because you didn't know. That's something and it's not the organization's responsibility to know what someone can and cannot do with their finances and what they get to take. That's on them. You just need to make sure you remind them that you report. Regardless of what they want to do, you report. I gotta tell people, I'm going to jail for nobody but me.
Right,
But
right.
me.
So the 600 is the annual.
As the monthly. Let me rephrase that. It's the single increment that you can disperse at one time for any given service, so to speak.
As long as it's below 600, I don't have to issue a 1099.
No. As the business owner, you're going to report it, regardless of what's going on. As the person who's receiving it, they don't necessarily have to quote unquote report it. You do, as a business.
So even if it's whatever amount, I still have to report it as a business, but the person doesn't have to
Yeah,
report it.
you got to report $1. They don't.
Okay, that makes sense.
But what happens is they'll come back to you because you're reporting it. They'll come back to you saying, you messed up my income or my housing or my rental, all of that. They'll come back to you saying that and you'll be like, no. That ain't my responsibility. I told you I report. I report a quarter if I got to. A penny. If I got to go search for this penny, I'm going to report this penny. I'm going to report it. And that's the thing that QuickBooks does for you. Because you're going to track all of your transactions, everything that you have to do. And all of these little reports down here, I know you can probably barely see it, but there are reports down there, like this profit and loss. You got your balance sheet over here. These are the ones that actually tell you, and your general ledger. We all know what the general ledger is?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just as a refresher, general ledger is a day-to-day activity type of tracking for what you do when you spend money, regardless of where you're putting it at. It's your receipt, your personal receipt that you do for yourself, your ins and outs. It's a balance check, like old school checkbooks, right? Now we don't even have a checkbook anymore because everything is so digital. Right? But that's what your general ledger is. It's just your personal statement. Your balance sheet says, as an organization, this is what I brought in. So I brought in $3 million. So we have to look at the word balance sheet. You're supposed to balance out what you get in and what you send out. In a hypothetical, in a theoretical world, that makes perfect sense. as the person who has to do it, it don't happen like that. You're gonna have ins and you're gonna have outs, and sometimes they don't always balance out. And then you got to go in and figure out how do you make this balance without doing anything illegal.
Right. That part.
Make sure I say that. Make sure I
Small
say that.
caveat.
Yeah, because I don't want nobody walk out here and say, Mr. Williams said we got to make it balanced.
Right. By any
Legally,
means.
you got to try to make this balance. But in the real world, I bring in so much a month, my bills are only so much, I have savings, right? So I don't, if everybody doing it right, you don't spend everything you get, right? So that's what you got to remember in a business. You may not spend everything that you get and within that fiscal year, so you have to make sure you structure it right. That's why your charts of accounts in QuickBooks is important. And so we're going to go there a little later, but most people will ask for your profit and loss statement. Do we know how to do that? Yeah, everybody know how to do profit and loss?
No.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
Right? So in a profit and loss statement, right? And it's all good, it's good. Okay, we go with that, it's good. So in your profit and loss, you're gonna say, this is what I paid myself for the month. This is what I paid my employees for the month. This is what I spent. Let's say you had to go to, in San Francisco, you were always paying some version of parking, whether it be the meter, somebody's garage, somebody's driveway. You paying for some parking. Here, I like across the bay.
Right.
Free parking. But here you gotta pay for parking.
Yeah.
When you go to lunch, you spend money for lunch. You got per diems, right? See, like I heard CC, when you hear per diem, everybody ears perk up like, wait, I forgot about that, right? You can pay yourself for having lunch.
Really?
That's what a per
Tell
diem
us
is
about
for.
it. I like that.
He said, please elaborate.
Tell us about that.
So, you know
And now we're talking.
You know what I'm confused about? I will never do this.
What?
But profit and loss and all. I hate math, like literally.
Like, we don't understand how much you hate math.
So, but I know we have to have like a record.
Yes.
So there's this resource from the nonprofit OEWCD called Catch a Fire.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like my best friend where I have to get a free account.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know, maybe you'll get there. I'm just jumping the gun.
Okay.
That sheet you need to like put those daily stuff.
Yeah.
Either is it profit or losses or is it the ledger?
So your ledger will create your profit and loss for you. So these will run into themselves, right? You're gonna enter in your data in one location, which will be your general ledger. Your general ledger, from your general ledger within QuickBooks, from your general ledger, it will create your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement.
Okay, so you will show us how to use it.
Yes, I will try to touch into it without revealing too much here, because I'm on my own personal one.
Yeah.
So I will try to touch into it without revealing too much of where stuff is coming from. But yes, I will show you how it works. So like when
Can we
we,
have time to actually help us set this up if we were interested?
if you were interested in it, so when you
To call it correct. So I'll just be transparent. Our non-profit, we paid for this actually through text, so. And then I tried to use it, and it was so complicated for me. We ended up just hiring a bookkeeper. I was like, I got scared.
And most people will get a bookkeeper. Like,
But-
I recommend that for all nonprofits. You should have a bookkeeper. As you as the ED or the CEO or the principal of your business, you should not be doing your own books. One, there can be true conflict of interest. The reason for that is because if you got a $3 million grant and you're like,
Find your blood.
3 million.
if I hire my sister, I don't have to pay her true wages.
She
I'm gonna
don't
say
need
my
benefits,
car
benefits.
is, my personal car is the company's car. You start to do things that you shouldn't be doing. Because now you're trying to make sure your salary is right or comfortable, right? We're gonna say comfortable. Right? So you shouldn't. You should always have, that's why so that's why you have your CEO, you have your CFO, and you have a COO, right? So you got your Chief Executive Officer, you have your Chief Finance Officer, and you have your Chief Operation Officer. All three of these people, you think they cool with each other. You think they buddy-buddy. They are true checks and balances. CEO will tell, the CFO will tell the CEO, you can't do that. The COO will say, hey, we need this to keep everything running. The CFO will be like, we only got this, so we can only do this. And the CEO's like to say, face with the public, we need to do more. How do we make this work? So they help you stay within a compliance boundary that you should always want to stay in. So I do recommend that if you can and if you have the room to hire a bookkeeper, do so. But do not be naive that you don't need to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on. I have monthly meetings with the people that I work with. For some people, I have like every 3-day meetings. Sense.
Yeah, run it back. Well, what did you do 3 days ago? Let's talk about it.
Right? So, and that's just to keep everything on point, right? Because as the bookkeeper, as the accountant, I'm making sure numbers make sense. I don't need to know the contract like you need to know the contract, right? If you said you had to spend, if you signed the contract and said you had to spend 3/4 of your grant by your biannual year, did you tell me that as your bookkeeper? Or did you think I was just supposed to know that? Right? Because a lot of people say, here go the contract. No, that's not, I didn't sign up to, I'm not the grant writer, I'm not the grant manager on this. I am the bookkeeper. Tell me what the goals are so I can help you stay on track so that I can make these numbers make sense so that they show us if we're on track or not. That's it. I don't need to know all of the rest of the stuff in there. That's on you. So a lot of people try to put the earnest on the bookkeeper like, we failed because of you. No. This is a teamwork effort, and we didn't work together as a team. So as I mentioned, you got 3 chiefs up top, right? So for some people, if you don't use chief, you got your ED, you got your finance manager, and you got your operation manager, or your facility manager. Depends on what you want to call them. Those 3 people need to be working together to make sure you reach your goals. Because as the ED, you may not know how many, you grow so fast, you don't know how many staff members you have. Right? Finance is going to know how many people you got, because we're like, you got, how many checks is we doing? I got to work out benefits for all these people, and then I got to make sure our workers' compensation bucket is right. And then if you do retirement, well, Jesus, we got a whole other field that we got to work on. As the ED, you don't need to be worried about that. Finance needs to be worried about it. Payroll needs to be worried about it, but you don't need to be worried about it. But you need to know what's happening. So a lot of us go in here and we get into QuickBooks and we're saying, well, how do we work QuickBooks? If you have all your charts of accounts set up and your sub-accounts set up, it's just entering a bill, right? You say, hey, we went to lunch today and I want to make sure that I get reimbursed for this business lunch. But your business lunch per diem says that you can only spend at one given time no more than $1,500. That's a really good meal. I'm just gonna say that. It's a really good meal. $1,500 per meal. But then you're looking at, hypothetically.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know how your contracts are set up. Like, let's get that straight. That's based on your contract. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, okay, the company needs to be reimbursed. I would put in young community developers. If that comes up, it's probably not gonna come up. It might just leave. So I would put in the whole name, right? Boom, right? Bam, right? We get that there, right? And we move all this out. This out. all of that, right? So then we get to say, okay, net 10. Do you understand what net 10 means?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. So that means that I got this bill on the 2nd, right? Net 10 is the due date, the amount of days that it's gonna take that the
10
term.
days.
Uh-huh, right. You need this bill completed within 10 days. So I only got 10 days to process this bill. We got the due date for the 12th because of the 10, so I can change this to fit however we need to fit, right? Most people will use 10, 15, 20, 30. I'm always blessed to see the 60s. Always blessed because then I got time.
Right.
So, and that's how we determine what's going on. If you don't use this, let's say you get a bill and it doesn't fit that net 10, you can go in here and manually change this to whatever the due date actually is. Now, bill number. Here's where people make this really, really complicated. And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I can say YCD. If I do it right, YCD, I can say Den 1. Dinner. YCD dinner. This is the first one we have. I can actually track how many dinners I have by how I number it. It's simple. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. People make it complicated, but it can be really, really simple. It's something that when you see that, you like, oh, I know what that is. Down here, invoice date. That's bill date, invoice date. Two different areas. You could have created this bill on the 1st. I didn't get it to the 2nd or the 5th. I'm gonna put in when I got it. Net 10, net 30, whatever, right? The original date of the bill is whatever date that is, whatever date you created it. Then I got an invoice number. Depending on the companies that you work with, they will have an invoice number. When you go and do Amazon, they got order numbers. So depending on where you at, depends on what you need to put in here. This is basically copying the receipt that you got to say what you got going on. You're going to put it in here, then you're going to figure out your categories, and your categories is based on how you set up your charts of accounts. Everybody got assets, everybody got liabilities, everybody got salaries and fringes or salaries, and everybody got utilities. Those are the 4 categories you cannot do without. You got those. Then there goes some program expenses. You got those, right? Operation costs, operations. You got those. So it depends on how you set it up. Depends on what you need. Is how this category drops down. You pick your category, then you write in your description. So your description is: was this a business dinner? Was this a business dinner with who? You can put all of that in there to help you figure out, to help you remember what it is that you did. This is your general ledger as it's running. As you create each bill, it becomes your general ledger. So when you go back, you can say, oh, this is what I spent in this month, this is what I spent in this month, then you can set it up so you can actually break it down per month, right? You can say, this is what I spent for the first half of the year. You can get that off your profit and loss and balance statements. It's important to do these, and then you always want to set up your donors, right? So, or your vendors, or your customers, or however you want to label those, right? Because when you want to go search, you might say, I want to search, you might have one client, one person that you use that's your best friend, right? Professional, he's your best friend. You might call him Benny. Benny. So when you go in there, I need to know what I paid Benny. You can go find Benny. I might not know who Benny is because I might know the business name. You may know who Benny is. So you can do that. Your classes is how you're going to charge your, I couldn't see that for a second. I might need to go get my glasses. Your classes is how you determine which grant is charged for the expense. Some of us, like I work with one that this company has 9 grants. That sounds great for the person receiving all the money. It's a nightmare for the bookkeeper. Make sure this gets charged to the grant.
Yeah.
Which grant we talking about? And then y'all got your own versions of the grant names. We going off of what's actually in there. The Cal grant. You got 3 Cal grants. Which one we talking about?
Right.
That helps me make sure that I get it to the right grant for the right charges. This description will tell me what's going on, the amount, and this was for a catering company, right? It tells me all of that. It lets me stroll down. Then down here, I can actually attach the receipt or the invoice so that it tracks it. Because at the end, when you get ready to do your invoices, I just got through doing a couple of them. They wanted every receipt for every expense. Right? Now, if you're paying the meter, you don't have a receipt, right? But you do have your bank statement. Right? Now, here's the thing about bank statements. Let me make sure I get y'all, make sure y'all clear on this one. You don't ever give up all your bank statements. Redact everything that does not pertain to this event. Black it out. Do what you gotta do. Leave the last 4 digits of the account number so we know that it did come from your account. I don't need to know the address of the bank. I need to know the bank. I don't need to know the address of the bank. You will with Bank of America. Please leave Bank of America visible so that I can see that it's Bank of America. Last 4 digits of that account number, because if you want to get reimbursed and you want to show that this is why you asking to be reimbursed, we're gonna need that receipt or proof of. Okay? And I always tell people, if you got to give your bank statement, create an invoice to support what you paid with the bank statement. Sometimes an invoice isn't enough because sometimes the invoice is very vague. Parking. For what? What event did you go to that you needed to pay parking for? You got to be really detailed.
Oh my God, that is so intrusive.
It is. But think about it. Like okay, so let's say we are associates, right? We're not friends, we're associates. And we're good associates, right? But I hit some hard times and I come and I say, look, I got this going on. And I feel comfortable enough to be able to ask you this. Now, I just ain't gonna ask anybody, right? Can I borrow $5,000, right? What would you want to know from me to ensure you're getting your $5,000 back?
What is it for?
What's it for? Why do I need it? How often are you paid? What do you bring in? What's all your bills? Because you ain't gonna give me no $5 payment payment program. Right? I need to know you can pay this back in a short window of time.
And
right?
realistically too, not just pay it back and now it hurts you and now I gotta do this again.
Right. Same thing with the grants. That's why they're intrusive.
Could you go back again about the invoice creation? I'm still not sure what you mean by that.
So,
Especially the parking aspect.
okay.
Let me first understand the first one. You said when it comes to bank statement, if a donor asks for a bank statement to confirm that an expense has occurred, I'll redact everything except the donor's expense.
Except the expense that you're trying to get reimbursed, you will redact everything else.
Okay.
Because
this is an organization to a donor, or this is...
From this, like, let's say you went out and you had to park at the meter, right? You don't have a company's credit card or bank card. You had to use your personal card for that meter. And you had to go to the meter 4 or 5 times that day. You don't want to get reimbursed for that meter because you're doing it for company time, right?
Right.
You're not going to get a receipt. It's going to hit your bank. It's going to hit your, so you would need to give me your bank statement to show that you paid the meter this many times, right? Because if you park in the garage, they're going to give you a receipt, right? Sometimes you can lose a receipt, but you know you paid it with your card. So your bank statement will show proof that you paid it. You got to redact everything else. Yes.
So it's bringing up for me the importance, or a question is the importance and usefulness of cards.
Yes.
Because if we're using cash and we say, oh, we did pay, and there is no, like I said, there's no receipt, and it also wouldn't show up in the bank. right? So if we have some type of card, whether it's a debit or a credit card, we can pull up the
Transaction.
record.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I know for me personally, credit cards are really useful for that particular cost, but even debit would have us have a record of what's being spent.
Right.
Um,
And, yes,
Mhm.
and so, and that's what we say about your own personal debit cards. I highly discourage you to ever use your own personal money to then be reimbursed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I highly discourage you to do that. Here's where it gets murky. You went on Amazon. You said, well, the company needs this, but you ordered it on your personal Amazon, right?
by mistake.
By mistake, right? I have some people who do it on purpose. I was like, I don't know why you do that, but right, you went and you like, oh yeah, we need this, and you just ordered it, right? Now you're saying you need to be reimbursed, but your Amazon hits you for other charges, for other things, so your total doesn't match what you want to get reimbursed from.
Huh.
So as a bookkeeper, I'm looking at what you say and the total.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now there's this huge discrepancy, but everything has been redacted.
Mm.
So can you tell me why you use your personal account for this? Because I'm asking because the person who's going to reimburse this grant is going to ask me the same question.
Right.
Why did you think this was a valid reimbursement submission? It's valid for you.
Right.
It makes sense to me when we talk,
Right.
but the person that's going to approve the reimbursement from the grant, they don't talk to you.
Right.
They talk to me, and they're going to say, you know better,
Right.
so why is this an exception?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I discourage that. Because if you can't, when you start to mix business and personal, it gets way too murky.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I tell people, can you actually take this hit? Since you did order it on your own personal account, can you take the hit? Can you absorb that whole expense?
If you can, just do it rather than make it complicated by saying all I really paid for and meant y'all to do is, can you
Yes.
please?
Yes.
And can you do it by?
Yes, exactly, right?
I need it by Tuesday, so.
Now, I know y'all heard a lot of these nonprofits that's being investigated, right? That's where business and personal got mixed in.
Yeah.
So unrestricted funds means that you can use it for whatever you need for the business.
Whatever I need,
Huh?
whatever I need.
Whatever you need.
For the business.
For the business.
business.
She said now the first part of that sentence is what I'm focused on.
Let me say that again. So unrestricted funds means like I say I donated to you $10 million. And I say it's unrestricted. For the business. That don't mean you get to run out and purchase a car. That's not what that means.
For the business.
But the business needs to be buying the car. Right? It needs to sit under the business name,
Oh, okay.
registered as the business name. Owner is the business, insurance is the business, everything is the business. It can't be for Tafari through YCD. Can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that.
Right.
Now, there are workarounds if that's something that needed to happen, but that's years down the line. That car would not be what it's worth. That house won't be what it's worth. It's years down the line because that's how you sell it off to somebody else. From the business. Business owns it. Business holds it. Business. Unrestricted. Restricted funds means this. I ordered you a grant to take care of your employees and to take care of your business travels for your employees, to help them become business develop the business development portion of it. That's what you can only use the funds for. Take care of your employee salaries and for business development trips. You can't go and say I bought office equipment and say I want to get reimbursed from my grant, because office equipment ain't on it. You spent that money on office equipment, you just bought that office equipment. because I'm not gonna reimburse you for it. Restricted. Only for what they say it's for. So you might have multiple line items for a really big grant. Everything you do got to fit in them line items. So if they say this is for travel for you as the ED, this is so you can get to the business meetings. This will pay for your gas. This will pay for your mileage. This will pay for your rooms because it says travel. Very open. It's a broad thing. This doesn't say travel for you and your partner. Travel for you. I get all kind of receipts. I'm like, ooh, we're gonna have to have a good talk on this one. This one, she don't know she bought this ticket for herself.
And so, does it comes up because, for instance, when you bring up travel, maybe the amount spent for the rooms is a lot. And you
Oh,
go-
yes.
And it
Now-
goes, wait. Uh-huh.
Yes,
Okay.
it's gotta make sense. So if you say you traveled and you went to the Holiday Inn, you can't send me a receipt or an invoice for $1,000 for 2 nights.
Mhm.
Holiday Inn don't charge like that.
Mm.
It don't
What
charge
if it
like
was a high season?
that. Huh?
What if it was a high season? And they were
It's
expensive.
still at the high season, it ain't $1,000 for 2 nights.
Uh-huh. He said, now, hold on now.
Now don't
You
get me
know,
wrong.
There was a Super Bowl that weekend.
Right?
And it was real hot.
Right, so then I'm gonna have to question, I'm gonna need proof of the training or the meeting that you went to. I'm gonna need the register list for that meeting.
Mm.
Yes.
All kinds of proof.
Because if you went to a business meeting and it happened to be one of our biggest events, Beyonce's having a concert there, type of thing, but it's a business meeting. Baby, you're gonna have to prove to me everything about that business meeting.
Oh, we go.
I'm gonna need the itinerary for the business meeting. I'm gonna need, when did you leave? When did you get there? Cause see, there's apps to track your mileage. See, that's what I said. We don't play with that. Because here's the thing, as your bookkeeper, if this goes awry, you on the hook as the ED. I go to jail immediately.
What?
Until it's proven that I didn't do anything wrong. That's why I said, when I got the call from the Department of Justice, it didn't say Oakland Department of Justice. This said the Department of Justice. When I picked up, hello, the United States Department of Justice, Lord Jesus, I'm not going to jail, I'm not going to jail. They don't play with that.
But as a CFO, you can go, or
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the organization?
It's
The-
CFO.
So here's how this goes.
Because I had the black organizations are being targeted.
They are. And as a black organization that I work for, we have to really do our due diligence. Which means that because you have a business, because this is for the business, we have to be intrusive on the business side. I don't need to be intrusive on your personal side. I care what you do on the personal. But if you bring this saying that this is a business expense, that you're looking to be covered by the grants that the business houses, I need to be intrusive. Our ED, our CEO, Mr. Brooker, major cool. But when we say, Mr. Brooker, I need receipts for this. I need receipts for the meeting that all the chiefs had. He don't hesitate. Here you go. He even calls the hotel. Can you send that to my fiscal department? He doesn't. Nothing's held back. Because it's all legit. If it's all up to board, there's nothing too high. But if you're being suspicious, but I tell you, I'm gonna be 100 with you. I ain't never met a group of people, city, county, state, and federal, that's got more power. You mess with them if you want to. I guarantee you're gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I used to be an underwriter. I've underwritten Michael Jackson's loans when he was alive. I've underwritten the actor for Spider-Man, the very first movie that came out, they got tons of money. Tons. But guess who has to ensure that money is there? Fed. So I can approve you for whatever you want me to approve you for. We gonna go to jail together though.
Right, right.
Right?
Right.
And I'm not good. I'm not good behind bars like that. I'm gonna be
Right,
real with you. I'm smiling right now. I'm giddy. I'm happy. Lock me up. See what happens.
Right. You get a different tomorrow.
Oh my God. I'll be like, bruh, we ain't here because of you.
Right.
So that's an invoice that you could create. They have those templates in Google Sheets and in Microsoft Office. You can get them, like I just Googled it, and you can find free samples, templates for invoices. So when you don't have a receipt and you may have used your card, or you might have used a company card and you need to be reimbursed before the bill actually goes through, you're gonna have to create this receipt, this invoice.
But only if the company has a form itself. So like our organization, we have a form called reimbursement form that they fill. Do they need
That's
to
internal,
do
that's your internal form,
this?
correct?
Yeah.
All right, so your internal form will work for you as long as your grantors are accepting it, okay? As long as your grantors are accepting your internal form, it's good. But these are the forms, these are in common practice, you're gonna get invoices from companies. Like, so if you needed to rent a U-Haul truck, you get an invoice,
Right.
right? So that's what I mean. Invoices, that's the common practice used for stuff like, for major stuff, big stuff, right? You get receipts from the grocery stores. You go to Costco, you're gonna get a receipt, right? And we know when you go to Costco, that's not $200. That's $500, $600. You're running into thousands with Costco, right? So there's a common logic that we use as bookkeepers that says, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense. You get Safeway and you walking out with $1,000. These steaks that you got here, I don't smell no steaks in there.
All right.
Where this at? That type of stuff, right? So I go there because it's happened to me. It's happened to me where I've had to clear this up. But so therefore, when I go to the invoice, because in QuickBooks, when you use QuickBooks, we upload all of the proof documents, right? So if you created a document, and I don't know you created it, because I'm not looking for you to create anything outside of an invoice that you didn't have a receipt for, I'm loading it into QuickBooks. So when we get audited, I'm gonna put QuickBooks, I'm gonna put all documents. That's what happened to a lot of these black nonprofits that are being scrutinized right now. They created invoices and tagged them to wrong companies, so when they actually did their thorough exams, these companies never created these invoices. Companies are gonna have track records of their invoices. I'm gonna have records of the invoices submitted to me. So when they don't line up, we got discrepancies. And when we get discrepancies, as I stated again, I ain't going to jail for nobody but me. Right?
I'm gonna tell the whole truth.
I'm telling the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And you can be up there, we're supposed to be dogs, not in jail.
Right.
So we do that. So when we get back to QuickBooks and we go back to this bill, I'm gonna load that invoice down here where it says attach. It says attach, I'm gonna go find my invoice. I'm gonna attach it. This description is what goes on the memo of the check. As soon as we stop that from so this memo right here is what actually goes on that. You know how you get a check and it says memo? That's gonna go right there. So QuickBooks can print out checks for you where you don't have to handwrite them. I discourage handwritten checks. I do understand that there's some emergencies. Sometimes there are emergencies and you gotta take care of some business to make sure your business is moving like it's supposed to move. They should be rare to none. Rare to none. All your checks, if you can, should be printed. The only signature, the only handwriting on there should be the person who authorizes the check, who approves the check. And sometimes it's two signatures. Sometimes it's not just one. You got your CFO, and then you got your ED or your CEO that will approve checks in certain amounts. Those are only two signatures. There should, handwritten portion on it, that should be on it.
So how do you print checks? You have to buy a special paper?
So if you go through QuickBooks, QuickBooks can set you up where they can print the checks. They won't be in your business. They will print them and then they mail them out.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Now, what QuickBooks also does, which is really great, is ACHs. That's how most of us get paid now,
Right.
right? It's through ACHs. They can be set up to QuickBooks. And then all you gotta do is like, you still do all of this. But instead of say print check, when we go to the print check, it'll say ACH and you just hit the button and say approve. And all those people are paid. You got your record you paid them, you got the proof of documentation that's in there, all of that. It is a really, really, really great system to use. Once again, it's free for nonprofits. There are a bunch of courses you can take, because they're gonna know you're gonna be doing, they're gonna recommend all these courses. Yes, 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 take them. You don't have to be a number whiz to use this. The number whiz is when you got to pull this out, and you gotta find the error. So, if I did a grand total and said, we've only spent $10,750 this month, but for some reason I got $10,700, I gotta go find that $50. That's when the mathematician has to go to work. Where is this 50 at? Why is it isn't here? Why isn't it showing? Because my records show we spent $10,750. You might think $50 isn't a lot. And you're right. Compared to the overall grant, it's not. But if I got $50 missing every other month, that adds up. Why do I got $50 missing every other month? First and foremost. Why didn't I look for it on the first one? Is what y'all gonna say when the attorneys is asking what went wrong. QuickBooks helps me make sure that you find out what's going on. It will show you there's a discrepancy. It'll show you, hey, we negative 50, we over 50. I might have 10,800 in there. Reported too much. Let me go back and look at this again. This is why QuickBooks is really, really important. So when we go to look at a profit and loss portion in here. So this is a general profit and loss, right? So you see all the, like, so right now, for all everybody that hate numbers, this just got really boring, right? Right? But you see how it says, you can't really see it, but it gives you board members, it gives you all these type of individual contributions. It tells me where money's coming from. So I can report it correctly. And then it's gonna tell me where money's going. If we're bleeding somewhere. You need to know all of these things. Because let's say this, you hired your best friend, and your best friend happens to be over your facilities. And you trust him because he's the godfather of the kids, y'all went to college together, you have no reasons not to trust him. But for some reason, you spending $50,000 in gas for your company cars. Why? And if you don't do good bookkeeping, you won't even find that. Then when the grantors get to asking, where's this 50,000 at? You're gonna go back and ask your partner, oh, that was all on gas. And because you're trying to just answer the question, you're gonna go back, that's gas. Where are the receipts? That stops you before you get to reporting. Where is the money going? Why is it going there? I will give you this really good advice when it comes to grants, money, business, period. Whether nonprofit or for profit. Ain't nobody your friend. Ain't nobody your friend. The ED that I almost went to jail for was a friend of my son's mother. First got in there, had no reason to really question. Then all of a sudden, the checks come up missing. I'm the CFO. I'm the one that says I have the bonding to hold 500 million. So I don't get the I don't get to give, I don't know. I don't get to give that answer. I don't get, well, she went in my office and just grabbed this. There's protocols that's supposed to be enforced. So as the CEOs of your businesses, you don't get to say, I don't know, and think that's a legitimate answer. You will need to know what's going on. You don't need to do the numbers, but you need to know what's going on. So you need to know how to read it. You need to know how to interpret them. Business is fun. It's fun. Mr. Brookter, I love what he does. I love what he does for YCD. I love what YCD does for the community. This is how I get back by working the numbers. I love what he does. He's educating everybody who's ready to start their nonprofits. I love what he does. So when he sends in a receipt, need to be reimbursed, we're gonna get that done right now, right? But I gotta track where we pulling the money from. Is it supported? Does it line up with this line item? The whole nine. QuickBooks helps us with that because we get to add in our bank deposits. We get to put in our grants. So it'll tell you when you start to run low. Right? Right, CC? Because you got a bank account, and if you don't have what you're doing line up with your bank account, it's like a kid who you give an ATM card to. They don't understand you got to put money in the bank to spend it. And if you don't know what you got in the bank versus what you're spending out, you can be in the hole. And we all know what happens with business that hit the hole and stay in a hole for too long. They become vacant buildings.
So if
Because
it's going to pay with a check.
so right here, right? So if we're gonna pay for a check, I would say after I did all my process, I created the bill, I would go to bill pay to mark which bills I'm going to pay, right? So I'm gonna go to bill pay, right? Bill pay is gonna say all these checks need to be printed, right? Yes, like accountant, we in the fiscal, we think we ain't just sitting there. You might call walking in, when you see us looking in the screen, we ain't just sitting there. We for real about them numbers, right? Then we go, and then we gonna say print checks. Because we just did our check runs, no checks, right? We like to see it like that, no checks. None fine. We good. If you don't have the capacity, they send it to another organization to print the checks and like I said, mail them out. Or
Is it expensive, that service?
it's more expensive not to have it. Let me say it that way. And this is the reason why I'm gonna say that. Because a company that I just came from, where I was a CFO, we did handwritten checks, and I was against handwritten checks. Somebody walks into your finance manager's office, your bookkeeper's office. Your bookkeeper is doing whatever he or she needs to do, and they're not paying attention because they got a sticky finger person in the office. Two, 3 checks come up missing. Your bank isn't going to know not to cash it.
But you can trace a check.
You can trace the check, you trace it before the money's gone.
No.
They can still walk away with what they needed or
Yes.
wanted.
Yeah, and then does your bank has a limit to say if a check is over this amount, they need to call you first. See, I'm getting you to think, right? Because that's the thing. When you open up your business, you're treating it like your account.
I'm just asking because we have these checks we just ordered and there's
So I mean, right now, I'm with you. But you're new, so you have time to shift them. You have time to shift it, right? To say, okay, we need to do it this way. Yeah, I don't recommend that you house your own checks, especially if you're not really going to take on the weight of a fiscal department. To have all of those controls in place, okay? Because to house a check and to meet compliance, right? If let's say you're going to have a bookkeeper in your office, the compliance portion or protocol is to say that person needs his own office, he or she needs his own office. They need to be able to have locked drawers and no one else can have a key the CEO can have a key to their office. Conflict of interest, right? And checks that are at a particular amount needs to be cleared before cash, right? And they need approval, which means the person who's managing your books plus the CEO would need to sign up at a certain dollar amount threshold. That's why this is pretty good, because you can set those parameters in there before they're ever cut. You can say anything over 5,000 needs a second approval. So you can say, they can say print all day. So that second approval goes in and put in their codes, that's just gonna sit in the queue. It stops all of those things, right? And you can only set one person to print checks. So everybody ain't printing checks. So that way when you can say, why did this check get cracked? That person that printed the check, like, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, so-and-so put this in. But you printed it. Right? So you narrow down discrepancies or fraud by making sure you have a line of process that you want and that you follow. Keywords, follow it. Because everybody will have an emergency. Everybody will have this one exception type of thing. It's just this one-time exception. I just need it right now. And once you start doing those, now how you were protecting your funds just got loose. Okay? So QuickBooks is one that helps you do that, because then you don't have stuff just laying all around, right? Because if you go to a spreadsheet and Windows, let's say you go to Excel or you go to Google, is your laptop secure? Is your desktop secure? Do you have a password for it? Do you have a password for that workbook? Do you have, can anybody just get into it? And if they know you well, they're going to know your password 9 times out of 10. They can guess it. So now they go in and they get to tweaking your numbers in your spreadsheet. How do you know that they've been tweaked? Why would you even need to go back and look over them again? Because you just got through looking at them, right? All these things that you need to take into consideration about that, where QuickBooks stops all of that. Because I got to sign into QuickBooks. So when I make a change, it's recorded. You can go back and say, T, you touched this bill. Why did you touch this bill? Because this, that, and the third. I literally just had it this morning before I got to this meeting. What happened with this check? This, that, and the third. This is why this happened. This is the explanation. Here go all my proof that I was okay to do this. As a money person. You need all of that. You need those type of things to keep you safe. These organizations that are being scrutinized and being reviewed, and I get it, it ain't just the blacks. They focus on us, but it ain't just us. So a lot of people who opened up nonprofits because what they saw was money. They saw an opportunity. I ain't mad at them. I'm glad I'm not on their books. Say that. I ain't mad at them, but I ain't glad I'm not on their books. Because they've all been in jail. That's what we do. But I say that to say that now with the county, with the city, the state, and the federal governments, because if you get federal funds, they give out the biggest grants. But if you get federal funds, you got a lot of work to do to show that you spent the money the way you were supposed to spend it. And here's another common rule, common practice. Whatever you started your salary off with, be careful on just jumping it because you want to. So that's one more time. So like, let's say you started off saying, I'm gonna make $85K. Grants that came in for the year. Be careful with just jumping your salary up. Because when they go to ask, why do you increase your salary? What you gonna tell them? Because we got more grants? Where's the proof? Well, not the proof for the grants. Where's the proof for the work?
I mean, what about if you started a program like 5 kids and now you all of a sudden you have 20? It's more work.
Let's say you just
Yeah,
mentioned
you have
that.
that.
Okay, yeah.
You just explained it.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
reasons section.
The problem is that if you have 5 kids, now you're adding 2.
But now,
Right.
there's,
And you got 5 kids.
yeah,
Now we got.
there's something I've witnessed with nonprofits, and I think this is a safe space,
Yes,
right?
yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to Pet Baptist, and they have a program called Back on Track. I have tried putting my kids in that tutoring program, and every Sunday they're like, "Oh, they're recruiting students. Come on." I call, I email, and I have all the emails.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, my kids are getting F in algebra. They need this. You know, this is have this crazy accent from Africa. They need this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For a whole year. They are funded. So I said, hey, I started this nonprofit for Africans. I called up, they have a WhatsApp group of almost 700 Africans here in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing the work. So I said, I need tutors. So I thought, well, when I called, they said, oh, they don't have any tutors. So I said, all right, I might help. So I got like 5 tutors, but they wanted to get paid. And I'm like, they get paid. They have a program for back on track. So I told they're only getting volunteers. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And that's when I just said, oh, wow, this is
And-
just, yeah.
And that's where your fiscal department. Hey, break this down to me. Why did you put this in when we don't? Right? Because then they're like, well, why are you asking? Because my name go on this. My name go on this. So when I say this is good, I'm validating what you said. Why we not doing this? Where is this at? But that's what I said. It's a conflict of interest when you are the CEO and you work in the books. Conflict of interest.
Yeah, I mean, I've just, and I feel like these corruptors are the ones who are spoiling for us who really want to do the work, and it's really hard getting the funding because we've been in events where, you know, and they form like very tight circles
Yes.
where they do one event, and then I know the invoices are charged same vendor. you know.
See, we there. But that, once again, that's why you need to have a bookkeeper, because those things would be questioned.
So I have a question here about funding, what you talk about. So if the donor does not specify, do you still, you give that idea of travel. So let's say my donor has given me 15,000 for travel.
For travel?
Yeah,
For travel.
yeah.
Okay.
And they've not specified. So now,
Well, they specify it's a travel.
no, like they're not, we were talking about the hotel. I'm still on the hotel. I'm still on the hotel.
Oh, got you. Okay. Now I'm with you. I'm with you.
Now, are you saying that even when it's unrestricted, I still have to keep the cost really low because that's
You
how it
have
matches?
you have to keep it within common practices,
Okay.
which means that common practice for a business trip, are you staying in the penthouse for a business trip? Right? That type of thing.
Okay.
You might have the suite. You might have a suite. But then, did you need the suite? Type of thing. You gotta, because this is what I always tell people. If you cannot explain it where it makes sense to somebody else who is well-versed in the business, then don't do it. Okay? Because if you're on a business trip and your business, and let's say you're there for training or whatever, or you're trying to get this contract done, you're estimating you're gonna be in a meeting for 6 to 8 hours. Do you need a luxurious suite? Right? Think about it, because when you get out the meeting, you go in to get something to eat and you going to bed. Because you might have to do this all over again tomorrow. It's not a business vacation trip, right? So you gotta look at things like that. That's why the nonprofits are getting attacked, because in a for-profit business, they can't do it there. That's called money laundering or theft. You can't just justify getting a penthouse for business, and then we look at the business details and be like, this was 3 hours, you could have did a turnabout,
You have to stay there that night.
right? So
Uh-huh.
you gotta think like that. If you can't explain it to somebody else in the business in the same field that you do, and it makes sense to them, then I would say just don't do it. If you going on a business trip, I get you don't want to stay at Motel 6. I don't want to stay at Motel 6, right?
Right.
Holiday Inn, I do. Marriott, I do, right? But I don't have the top floors.
Or you don't have to do Ritz.
Right. So you gotta look at it like that. And then, am I eating at what is one of,
Chris.
right, I'm not eating at Ruth's Chris for lunch, right? Especially if I'm solo bolo, I'm not eating there for lunch. Now, if I'm trying to entertain potential business partners, I might take them to right? But then then in my details, hey, we were negotiating contracts, trying to ensure that we got the client or potential donors. I gotta write it out for it to make sense. If I can't do that, don't do it.
Right. And I'm glad that you say that, because it's not to say never get anything expensive.
Right.
And it's not to say don't get the cheapest thing possible.
Right.
You know, like you said, Motel 6, I didn't feel safe, but we had a meeting.
Right.
It's like, you know, they're not gonna say that, but like you said, just make sure that you can justify, this is why we chose like a really good restaurant. This is why we chose a really good venue, because we've tried to give these people a great experience.
Yes.
But don't expect to be able to do it with no pushback.
Right.
And no questions.
Yes.
So that's really good. I'm glad that you asked that too.
Yeah, me too. This is
And
really
I have
good.
another question.
Sure.
If let's say we're not paying you
Mhm.
the party, but giving you in form of a gift card,
Mhm.
once I submit the receipt, do I really need to report it? If I'm giving you as a gift
If
card.
you can, yes, you as a company, as the person that is being, that was given the authority over the money, you need to report it. I may not have to report it, but you need to report it.
So I have to say that I gave you a gift card?
You have to tell me you gave me a gift card, and you have to tell me the denomination of the gift card. Because gift cards, they don't really have a limit on what you can put on there,
Yeah.
so you could have literally gave me $5 million to a gift card.
Really? No.
No.
So I only ask because we are doing that right now. So we have kids in our program.
So you're giving them a stipend.
We give it in form of a gift card. So every time they show up in a meeting, they get a $100 gift card.
Right.
But
That makes
we've never like asked for their social or anything.
Oh, no,
We just write
you
their
don't have,
name.
you don't have to go back. You need to get those, you need to get them.
We need to get their social.
You need to get them. You need to get them, and because this is what because here's what you're gonna have to do. Depending on how you broke down what you did for the gift card, you may say we made a purchase for, I'm using hypotheticals here, 50 gift cards at $200 a piece or $100 a piece, right? So you just spent $5,000, right? How are you going, you spent $5,000 on kids attending a meeting, how do you prove that the kids got cards? See what I'm saying? You gotta have tangible proof for every dollar you spend.
So what if they sign?
They sign, that's fine, but how do I know they're real?
Oh, okay.
Right? Because I've watched people be like, oh, I'm getting this for my baby. I'm getting this for my mama.
Yeah,
Like,
come back around.
My uncle, he in the car, I'm gonna get this for him. I don't know you give it
Yeah.
to your uncle, I don't know you give it to your mama, I don't know you give it to your baby. You just got 3 gift cards. How do I know? You're not always responsible for what they do after they get it, but you are responsible for who gets what. Okay? So the Social Security is mandatory, and I get it. For undocumented people, I get why they don't want to do that. I do. But you don't want to be in hot water for something that could have been easily mitigated somewhere differently, right? There's ways to give out gifts for people who don't want to, who can't, who are in harsh situations. There's ways to do that. I mean, how you get it? For recording purposes, you gotta research that on your own, right? There's ways to do that and not get in hot water. You will be scrutinized. There's no way around the scrutiny, okay? If you can justify why you did what you needed to do for that individual, you will be okay. But you might have to give up more information than they would want you to give up, okay? Because we get as a company that deals with domestic women who are been abused by their husbands and loved ones, and so for HIPAA purposes, we don't get all of their information, right? There's ways around stuff, right? There's ways around stuff. For HIPAA purposes, we don't get their information. Because we don't need anybody slipping in, that information gets out and the person that's after them goes and kills them, right? We don't even want to be on the hook on that. However, the organization takes the brunt of the hit. Because of that HIPAA violation, the organization now is responsible for certain portions of that. That's what I'm saying. There's ways around it, but it's going to hurt. Okay? So that one, it stops them from just giving out money. Because they got to take that hit. Because you can be nonprofit and still pay taxes.
So what I need to do is to go back, ask them for their social security.
If you can get it all, yes. And then with that saying, hey, wasn't aware that we needed to make sure that we did this, that there's this bulk that is unaccounted for, but this was before we got a better understanding of the practice.
And they have to sign up for every month after the month.
Every time they get it, you need to have a W-9, and you might have multiple cohorts. Every cohort, the initial packet needs to have a W-9 in it, so they need to fill out.
What about for the undocumented?
For the undocumented, so what you would do is, in most cases, they can get a TIN number, right? They can go get a TIN number, I can go get the TIN number.
Many of them, they don't want to.
They're scared to. They're scared to.
But they don't get this stamp, or what do I do with them?
So,
And then
You're scaring me. They've been with me for a whole year now.
you can clean that up. You can clean that up. Okay, you can clean that up. For your undocumented individuals, I would check.
Oh,
You
God.
should be consulting with an attorney in that particular area as to some workarounds on to what you can, how you can show proof of without burning the undocumented.
Right,
Okay.
and then kids are allowed to sign, or the parents have
The
to
parents have to sign. The parents would fill it out for the kids,
The W-9.
the W-9, and the parents would sign.
So whose social security will go to the W-9? Will it be the kid or the...
The kid's social security number will go on.
But the parents are the one who's going to sign the W-9.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I need to tell the parents who are
Yeah.
documented.
So
Once
you
they're
was-
documented, I have to ask them for the social security of the kids, and they have to send the W-9 on behalf of the kids. And the undocumented one, I'm going to jail.
No. You're gonna work that out.
Statement.
And-
You
and-
can't have a statement for them to sign?
You have, so what the W-9 does, it says that because you paid out so much, right? Because one, you don't know if these kids are gonna come back and take the course again. You don't know how much they eventually will get, right? Total throughout the year. You have to report everything that you send out, but you have to prove that you've given it to somebody, okay?
Oh my God.
That's the problem, that's the issue when it comes to nonprofit, because like in a business, right, for a for-profit business, it's my money I'm giving away. I still gotta show I gave it away. I can say I donated $50,000 to 5,000 kids. I can say that, right? But that's my money I'm giving away. You working with somebody else's money, giving it away. It's a difference. They're not going for the kids that didn't do what they needed to do. They're going for y'all. What you gonna say? I don't know who I gave them to, but I gave them to kids. You can't do that in court. You can't do that in court. So in that's why I'm saying that the nonprofits are much harder than people think they are. They are great purposes, and QuickBooks would have helped you track that. There's a portion in QuickBooks. Let me show you.
Oh my God.
So in here, you got expenses, right? And in expenses, you got, come on, you got vendors. And the vendors, we go to new, just gonna jump over to new. So for your undocumented, you can say undocumented, right? You can use the first, last name, I'm sorry. You can use a letter, don't even have to be the letter of their name. Letter, letter. Letter for the first name, letter for the last name, right? Once again, I'm gonna repeat this. You consult with an attorney that deals with unregistered people.
I see you have Venmo there. You can pay the Venmo and keep that as a receipt?
All of that is ACH. That's how you can pay them out.
Mm.
They don't have to have a bank, you can pay them on Venmo.
And cash out.
Cash out, all
So
of that.
now when
And
I,
then so you're undocumented, that's what I recommend.
Yeah, that's a negative.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
So the card is costing us 106, but the kit value they get is 100. So when I write down, I will put 100, right? I will do that.
So what you're gonna do is your first initial purchase, the first initial invoice or entry that you would make is that the grand total for the purchase of the cards and the dollar amount that you put on it. When you break it down, each kit got 100. The extra $6 that you paid was for the cost of the card. That's how you break that down to account for everything. Okay, so down here, right, we got address, we got notes, we got attachments, the W-9 goes right there. You see what it says here? Track. It says tracking. It says tracking payments for 1099s, right? Every stipend is a 1099, technically.
And so at the end of the year, they will get the 1099 for 1,200.
If they're gonna get us, they would get a 1099 regardless if they're gonna report it or not, but they get it. So then there's social or business number, TIN number, whatever identification number that they need, that they would have, that would go right there.
Okay.
Right? And that's how your QuickBooks tracks your stipends or your contracted employees. They would do it right there. Now, in that, like I said, if you have the ability to do ACH, which QuickBooks does, right? Your undocumented individuals, you can give them, they can go get chimes, stuff like those cards. It's going to show that they got paid. Whatever their registered name is on that card is whatever their registered name is on that card. But that card will be associated to an individual. That individual, however they want to do it, is how they want to do it. But you're showing you paid somebody.
And you didn't choose a card.
I mean, they chose to receive payments via Cash App, Venmo, whatever, right? That's how they chose to receive it. But you paid it out. A lot of people don't understand, though. Each one of those cards, if need be, can be tracked out. So it can be run to a person. But now, we as a nonprofit, we ain't even finna go through all that. It's not even necessary for all that. We just need to know you paid somebody. But you can't say you paid the air. I think we're gonna be okay with that. So, and those are the things. So those are the things, like when it comes to QuickBooks, we got the vendors. You can put in your donors and everything. Leave without saving, yes. So here goes preparing 1099s, right? So this is how I would set up my 1099s. It's going to show. See, it says identification numbers, right? Hypotheticals. And it says confirm information and start filling it out. Right? They get a 1099. I'm gonna show them where every dollar went. So QuickBooks helps you do that. It helps you stay on track. It helps you make sure that you're documenting the way you need to document. The thing with a spreadsheet, you wouldn't know you need to do this. Right? You wouldn't know that you needed to make sure each individual that you pay, there's some way to track that individual is actual live individual. Right? Because at the end of the year, I mean, most of the time you can't open a bank account without having a social security or a TIN number. So you gotta have something.
Right.
Right? You can go to check cash in place, but you gotta have ID. Right? which means that at some point you have to have some form of numbers to be tracked with. Most of your undocumented don't have IDs. If they went in with a gift card, the gift card doesn't require an ID, but they can be turned down from using it. So they need to sell that card to somebody else, right? So these are the things that, like, once again, once you give the money away, you don't have any control over what happens with it. But you do need to prove that you gave it to somebody.
So another,
Sure.
I have a lot of questions.
Go ahead. Until he say we done, we good. I'll answer.
We have,
Right.
so if we have a policy where you tell people that if you show up, like when you're traveling out of state to reimburse you up to, let's say, $300, would I still need to get a receipt for them, even if it is in the policy that once they show up, we should pay them the $300 for transport?
So let me make sure I heard it right. So you have a policy in place so that where your participants, if they show up, they're granted 300.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, you would need to create either, they would need to create an invoice, or you would need to create a sign-in sheet saying that this is the sign-in sheet says that this is who they are, right? So you need name, first, last name, address, email if they got it, or phone number, right? They have to be willing to fill out a W-9
They have to.
for those that can fill out a W-9, okay? Let me reword that because I know who y'all working with. All right, for those that can't fill out W-9, they need to fill out W-9. Once you consult with the attorney about the unregistered people, because they still have the right to be served. They still have the right to receive services. Like, so I'm not saying as a financial individual that we deny service. They should still be able to participate, especially because their situations is a little different, right? You just need to find a way that you can legally list them without burning them. I have some dear friends that are not registered, so I get that. They're my partners, like, and they be like, we're going somewhere now, bro, you stay here because we ain't even gonna do that.
Right. So I'll bring you something back.
Right, bro, we ain't gonna do that. But when we go, they gonna ask for ID, bro, you ain't got it.
Yeah, so just text me.
Yes.
The one question just that
Yes.
I'm getting from, I got rather from Alicia, was about the 1023.
Oh, 1023. Okay, so on the 1023, so your 1090 is how you are reporting to the states that you are this nonprofit organization. The 1023 is how you initially set yourself up. The 1023 should be a one-time form.
Okay.
The 1099, I'm sorry, the 990s is an every year form. But so when you first set up, they should have had you do a 990 and a 1023. That 1023 is what the county and the state holds. They hold those, even the city holds those, because that shows proof that you signed that you are a nonprofit. And then the 990s is an annual thing that shows that you are doing what you need to do. Let me find the 990s for us.
Huh? You have one.
So 1023 is what? Is it for non-profits or for what?
Yeah, so I have it in this one. If I had my actual laptop, I would have shown. I would have just shot it up there for you. Where we go.
You know what, a side note, what would really be helpful is if we had a session where you talk us through like the salary. I know you touched it, but you touched it very quickly.
Oh, so what do you want to, as I'm looking for the 1023, what is it that you, what
So
are some of
we-
the questions about salary?
Yeah, we made a mistake. We're a very small non-profit, and when we put the salary, we didn't put information on retirement, on health, and then we got in trouble, and we had to give up the grant back because we had not just budgeted. And so I would really love to know, like, how do you think through like that? Like,
So-
if I'm writing a grant for salary, what, in addition to just the money for the hourly, what else do I need to include to be charged? Because I think that's a mistake we made before.
So when you think about salaries, your grand salary total should include your fringes with it. So whatever your salary is, you're going to use the running current rate for fringes at 29% of your salary.
29%.
29%.
Okay.
Then I will get it to Jermaine on the breakdown for the 29% because there's each one each section has its own percentage. I will get that to him so that he can share that with you guys. So when someone says they get paid hypothetically 110K, they don't actually get 110K. They get
110 plus 29%.
no. They would get, what they actually would get is they would probably get maybe 97,000 because the other portion has went to fringes. So that's what. So when you hear someone say I make such and such annually, they gave you the gross. They didn't give you the net.
Yeah.
Now, like I tell people, I like to work with the net because that's what I get.
That's what I need. Right. See, all that other stuff look real nice.
They look nice until
But
you.
my check only said.
Right.
And so is this numbers you're giving, like 29%, is this something that is easily accessible, or does it change every year? Like, how will I know as a non-profit that
So,
this is what I need to look out
when
for?
your fringes, how to calculate fringes, if you was to Google that, would say 29%, and it would give you somewhat of a breakdown. For the common practice used through all accounting firms and bookkeeping is 29. It's the 29% rule. If there were changes, that would mean the changes would have to go through the feds, hit to the state, and then it would be a national awareness of that.
Oh, okay.
Because we all have to be doing the same thing.
Oh, that makes sense. But I see, like, so maybe we are small. I see, like, we have except we give the salary and that's it.
Mhm.
I see a non-profit similar budget like ours. But they be giving their people like 1,200 professional development, 300, and I'm like, where are they getting all that money from? I want to know.
So
how does that work with
so
them? It's the same budget.
So the grantors might have said this is what they do, and in order to continue to do what they do, they need to make sure that they have professional development courses to make sure that their employees and their staff can do their job at the proficiency level that needs to be done. And they may add, they may state this is how much they need for professional development, or estimate what they need, but then they gotta make sure they spend it. Okay? That's the area that gets really tricky. Right? Be 100 with you, it gets real tricky because you need to make sure you're hiring certified people. Can't use Billy Bob. He might be proficient at what he do.
Yeah.
But when I Google Billy Bob ain't certified in nothing. And you paid him how much? That part.
Right.
Because there I had one where I had to actually go back and I had to literally go through, do a business search for that individual, business search for the business that they stated that they did, to see if they were in good standings with the state, to say, we can't pay them.
Oh, wow.
But YCD, we're thorough like that because we deal with so much money and we have a lot of staff as a nonprofit. So when we mess up, that's the thing that I think people don't get. When you mess up, your impact, that blowback is bigger than you think it's going to be. Because now you got to cut staff loose. And these are people who thought they had at least a solid year or two with you. So they don't have something sitting in the tank because you wanted to pay your partner. It's a blowback that comes from that. And you get a really bad business name or reputation, and then when you try to go start a new non-business, they're like, nah, a non-profit, I'm sorry. Nah, bro, you messed that last one up severely, right? And then people don't want to work with you because they don't want to be associated with you. So you have to be very careful in that. The business development portion is a very tricky thing. very tricky. But I always tell, I recommend if you go do it, certified people, professionals, people that you can search them.
Mhm.
They good at, you can search them. His book that he giving out, you can search the author, right? He's historical, this information, you gotta be careful with that portion. Now, don't get me wrong, catering companies, catering food, yeah, you can use your partner. Make sure your partner fill out W-9.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
Yes, yes.
Everything has to have W-9.
Because when you pay that your partner, that's a 1099. When you pay the catering service, it's a 1099. Anybody outside your business, it's 1099.
So, I got a mural company, and I team up with a guy who has a window washing company,
1099. Go ahead.
and just give him a 1099 and fill out.
You give him a W-9 to fill out. Because when he gets, when you pay him, like, if you paid him through your organization, you're paying him a 1099. He's contracted with you. So he's subcontracted, so to speak, with you. So you pay him, you're giving him a flat rate. You're not pulling out benefits, you're not covering anything. He's 1099.
And so when I'm moving forward, another artist wants to work with me.
1099.
But at first, it's just gonna be voluntary. We're just gonna go around canvassing, see what we can get. And then once we start getting money in, then it's,
1099. But you can have him fill out the 1099 in advance, so that if things get there, you don't have to worry because it's already on the books. Right? It's already in your system.
that's
You
what
can,
QuickBooks do.
QuickBooks does that.
I got Jobber. Have you heard of Jobber?
I heard of Jobber. Jobber should do the same thing as QuickBooks, where you can put in the 1099. Put it in layman terms. It says, what is it, 1023? The Form 1023 is an application, is an application of an organization used for the IRS to issue a determination letter or ruling letter that recognizes the organization as exempt from federal income taxes. So that's a one-time deal.
Right, right.
The 1099s is to help confirm it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, the 99 is to help confirm it.
And so one thing that she did, or spoke to me in particular, is like a how. Is it particularly complicated?
No, they're not. So the 990 form that I had pulled up earlier, what's the name? So the 990 form. So it's honestly, it's pretty straightforward. It's no, like I tell people, it's really no different from a W-9 or a W-2 form that we fill out for work. There are no differences. So it's just asking the organization name, and if you're doing business as, you know how we got YCD Inc. and then we also go by YCD. So we put both of those in there so that you can be recognized as that. You would put in the entity's number or employer's number, so to speak. You have to have that information, a mailing address, for floors, the contact information, has the address, this is if the address changed or not. And then if you are status exempt, what is it? Because there's multiple exemptions. And brief description of the business, and then that's honestly it. It may ask, like right here, contributions prior year, so they're going to determine if you've got anything. So that would be like more like tax things, so they would know that information, nobody else would. But that's why if they did it through QuickBooks, all that's plotted.
Right, okay.
All of it's plotted. So when we get there, all they would need to do is print and sign at that point. Print, sign, and date.
Right, right.
And And so that's why I tell people like QuickBooks is good for that type of stuff because it'll do it for you. If you're trying to do it off the cusp and you don't really have everything down, then you need to fill out the mission statement. Then they would need to run through and do their costs and expenses. They'd have to handwrite all that out. That becomes it's tedious, but it's not complicated.
Right, right. Okay.
So you got the codes for each one. QuickBooks does all that. All that. And then they go through and they check. So it just says describe, as the organization described in section 503, that it's just confirmation, yes, no. QuickBooks would have done all that because if you would have answered most of these in creating it.
Right, right.
So that's why I tell people you might as well kill two birds with one stone because you want the 1090, you want the 990. You've already filled out the 1023. Just go through QuickBooks. It's free. Why not? Right? And like there's plenty of people out there that you can pay to enter in the information if you just don't want to enter it. Like I tell people, it's kind of a waste of money when you already have that information.
Right.
Just going through it, and you should know it because it is your business. You should take that time out to understand what it takes to do it. But it's most of this is literally just, then you got your positions, your average hourly. So if you got staff and employees, it's gonna ask that. If you're in QuickBooks, you've already put your staff in, you put their hourly rate, you put their fringes, you put all that. But if you are doing this through a spreadsheet, you gotta import it. You literally have to do it one by one. That's what it is. It's not complicated, it's just tedious.
Yeah.
Super tedious.
Do they have a class for QuickBooks?
Yes, they do have
Like a
those.
physical class, not online? I learned
They have
best
physical classes?
when I'm like this.
Right. They had physical classes up until COVID.
Oh.
When they realized they could do it virtual with COVID,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
stopped.
Risk free.
Right?
All right, right.
So in that you get, but QuickBooks is one that I would tell anybody especially for what you guys do. You guys work with a lot of people who are in need. Learn. I won't say you learn it. Get comfortable with QuickBooks. Hire somebody to do QuickBooks.
But get comfortable with it.
Get comfortable with it. Get Mr. Groper's comfortable with it. Our CEO, he's comfortable with QuickBooks. Now, does he want to get in QuickBooks? No. But he's comfortable with QuickBooks.
I want you to elaborate on that. One, because of what she said, like not liking it. Two, because Miss Tate has said, she's all in this stuff, not because she wants it, but just because she wants to, double check and make sure that things are going good.
Yes.
So for those folks, there are people who aren't here, it's not their thing, not excited. If it's honestly, when you were saying it's not complicated, but it's tedious, I'm thinking about the discomfort.
Yes.
Right? Because it's one thing to go, oh, I just gotta do all this. But it's also the feeling of man, am I gonna mess it up? What's gonna happen if I mess it up? Did I write the right thing? I mean, they asked me this question. This is what I think the answer is.
Yeah.
Do I have the right answers? Why is it important for the ED to be comfortable with it if they're not the person that's going to be over it?
The reason why I recommend and highly recommend any ED, CEO, principal owner, or co-founders to be comfortable with QuickBooks and to be comfortable with knowing what's going on with the business on a fiscal side is because how do you defend your people when the attacks come? Right? If you don't know the numbers yourself, how can you say you're doing everything right?
Right.
Right? How can you go ask for more money when you don't know where you sit currently? Well, how much do you guys spend on a year? What does it take to run your business? Well, on an average, if somebody wanted to donate, what would you actually need to just stay afloat for 1 year? Right? You don't want to be like, hold on. I need you to answer this question right now. Right?
Right.
That shows people you're not invested in your business.
But after many years of knowing that this is your budget and never getting funded out of it, they just get old budget. That has been my thing. The first year we hired a consultant and they created a strategic plan, a framework, And then the second year we had to cut like a lot of things because we
Yeah.
never got the money.
Mhm.
And then by that year I was used to it, right? We did it that year, we raised like almost just like a third of
What you needed.
what we needed. And then after some time I just stopped paying the consultant because I'm like, I'm wasting more time on this. Now people keep asking me for my budget and I'm like, that will cost me to actually do it, right?
Right, but QuickBooks would have it for, when you learn QuickBooks and you learn to input it, your budget's already there.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing about QuickBooks. It's there. So because every nonprofit person that I've ever worked for, the budget is always asked, what is your budget? And as the ED, CEO, or whatever, you need to know what that is.
Right,
Like I said, you don't need to be in the weeds of it, but you need to know what it is.
right,
You need to be aware of it because your budget grows, it fluctuates.
Right.
Based on grants,
right,
based on foundation money, donors,
right.
in-kind donations, things will fluctuate and you need to be able to stand on that. And then when they say, well, y'all doing this wrong, well, no, I know what our budget is, I know what our expenses are, where are we wrong at this? This is what we spend on an annual basis. This is our peak season. You know your peak season because you're familiar with QuickBooks. But when, like right now, if we said, what's your peak season, you would probably tell me when you got the most clientele. I'm gonna ask what your peak season is by when is your highest spending period?
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay? So it depends on who you're talking to, depends on what question they're asking. But you need to know. As a finance person, I don't care how busy you get, when do you spend the most money? Because at that point, we need to be making sure that before you get to this next peak season, we are ramping up. Go get some money. Go out there and get some donations. Get ready for this. Because each year, if you're doing it right, it just gets much more expensive.
If you're doing it right.
If you're doing it right. But that's any business, right?
Yeah.
If you got a peak season of high expenditures, like, let's look at it this way. In your own house, right? When's your peak season?
Holiday.
Yeah,
Holidays?
exactly.
Yeah.
But so when you say the holidays, are you saying fall and winter? Or are you saying winter and spring?
Fall and winter.
Right?
I say
Because that's
winter,
when you
spring.
spend the most money, right?
Right.
Right? But when I asked you, you said it, right? You like the holidays, right?
Right.
You knew it.
Yeah.
Because you don't like numbers, but you know what your household takes, right? Same difference. So you need to know, and because when you go to ask people for money and they get to ask you these questions, it's not the traffic.
Yeah.
It's when do you spend the most? When do you save the most? When's your slowest period? When you're not spending the most, what's your slow periods? Right? You need to know these things. Because for them, they're asking these questions and you might think this is nonsense. Right? But somebody who's trying to invest in what you do need to know when you need the money. You don't need it in the slow season. So I might be able to say, okay, I'm gonna give you, I might say in my head, I'm gonna give them $20 million, right? Listen, I don't have $20 million.
Right.
I'm gonna give them $20 million, right? But I don't need to give it to them in the summer right now because that's their slow season. So right before summer, right before fall is done, I need to make sure that by December they have this money in their account ready to go. You need to know because not everybody has the money to just give to you right away. They may need to know when you need it by. So that's why you need to be aware of it. So when Mr. Brookter's out there pulling money for us to keep all of us hired and keep us nice, like I like to feed my kid, my son like to eat, he tell me he like to eat, Daddy, I'm hungry. He tell me that. I need to know that I need to have confidence in my CEO that he can make it happen.
Right.
So that's how you keep your staff confident because if you know what's going on, they know you invested,
Right.
right? Versus go ask the bookkeeper, well, why you don't know? Right? Because my son say, Daddy, how much you make? I'm not going to go, if I was with his mother, I'm not going to say, go ask your mama. That's my money.
Ask your mama how much I make. I don't know. I just get the money.
So these are things you got to look at, right? These things you got to take into consideration. And you want to make sure you invest it because when things start to look funny, you need to start asking questions. But you don't know they look funny if you don't ever look at it.
Not to buy.
right? There's one lady that he had mentioned earlier who's really invested. We meet a lot for her books, and she's like you. She hates numbers, like because I can tell every time we get ready to talk, I can hear it in her voice. Oh, Mr. Williams.
Here it goes.
I was like, all right, let's go. Let me pull it up. What you looking at? Which one you looking at? Right? This is what you spent. You spent this here. You spent this here. Now, remember, 3 months ago, you spent the same thing. So, are we double counting this? Or this is actually a different purchase, right? She's like, oh, okay, wait, no. So, okay, my fault. I put this in the wrong spot. But she's invested. She know if I ask her what her scope area is, she'll tell you. I'm like, oh, we got this on lock. But she's also the one making sure that when she bring on people, how long can she keep them? That's, as a nonprofit, that's something you need to know.
Say that one more time.
Bringing people home and keep them.
What's the sustainability of keeping?
I mean, like.
What if you fund it for just 1 year?
Then that's what you need to tell people when they get hired.
Because this is just a 1 year position.
This is a temp annual position. We're working to make sure we can see if we can push it out a little longer, but the grant is only good for 1 year. Because if this person needs more of a permanent income, you gotta be fair to them.
Right.
They got dependents and things of that nature. Like me, I know coming into a nonprofit, I know at least a minimum of 2. After that, every year after that, it's a bonus for me. Bonus, like, boy, they is good here, boy, they good. But I'm also aware too, when money get funny, it's good while it lasted.
It's been real.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough with the burnouts. Sometimes you feel like you're just a professional beggar.
But
I am.
I am.
He said, feel like it. Oh, that's exactly my job description.
I'm like, I'm doing all this work. Why do I have to be begging for this? You should be looking for me.
And so, listen, if you were working for a corporation, a Fortune 500, as the employee, you are a professional beggar.
You're a professional what?
Beggar.
Beggar.
You are a servant. Let's be real, right? Until you are the owner, you are a beggar. Always remember that. As a renter, I'm a professional beggar.
Right.
As a house owner, until that mortgage is paid in full, I'm a professional beggar.
It's a sad reality.
Right? And even when I own it, I got to beg the county to keep the property.
Right.
Because I got to pay property taxes.
Right.
It's expensive.
Right?
Right.
So that's what I said. When people be, they shamed about being a beggar. I am. I'm a professional PhD at this. I know how to make this work.
Be begging all the time.
So you said why you need to invest in me? You got a minute? Let me get you some coffee. We finna get into this. That's what you are as a nonprofit. You're asking for grants. Why should they invest in you?
You have to tell them.
And you got to show them numbers. That's why QuickBooks is important. You need some type of account system. Whatever system that you are comfortable with, you need it. You got to show them numbers, and they got to be accurate. Because here's the thing that you forget. Every nonprofit is public knowledge on what they get and how they spend it. That isn't hidden. So, if you don't know your numbers, but you're reporting numbers, how does that make you look? You got to know what you're doing.
Right.
And then you got to know how to classify people. Like today we talked about, we really got into the 1099s, which I'm glad we did. The stipends, we got into that. I'm glad we did because these are areas that people get in trouble with. And I always tell people, avoid hiring your partners and your family member to the best of your ability. Then is how you get in trouble. Because you might keep this on the hush, but they happy spending that money, and they get to talking.
What if they're doing the job?
Even if they're doing the job. Nepotism, when you hear the word nepotism, what do you think?
Family.
Right? But then what? It's a tarnishment, right? It's a stain.
Right.
He getting plugged and he ain't doing the work, or she getting plugged, she ain't doing the work. They paying him because that's his family. It's an ugly thing. You want to remove that from your business to the best of your ability. Now don't get me wrong. Every now and then you gotta hire a family because you just need the help, right? But you want to make sure that y'all ain't in the same department, y'all ain't in the same ranking, far away, right? That way can't nobody say you showing favoritism. But then you don't want to have to explain to a grant why your sister is a COO. Now, why is she the COO? Even if she got the credentials, why is she the COO?
Still why?
Right? Because then now, so is her salary justified? Can you tell me why her salary is so what it is? And then now you mad because they questioning you about your sister, right? And you could have avoided that. So these are things that you got to look at, because as a finance person, as me, I'm gonna ask, and then you're gonna be mad at me and want to fire me because I'm all in your business. But I'm like, I'm just trying to keep us open, because somebody's gonna ask, and you need to be ready for it. If I'm asking, guaranteed state, county, cities asking. They don't. Those are things that they look over. You might ride 2 or 3 years, but then all of a sudden you got this audit coming up, and then they be like, "No, we coming in. You didn't come in the last 2 years."
Right.
Yeah, we coming in on this one. And then then you got to open up your books. Then you got to show your work. And you're like, well, why they at us like that? Because you gave them something was reported that gave them that, we need to look into this. But that's why your bookkeeper, your finance person, is the person that you want to report on your finances. Because he or she know what to send, what not to send. They didn't ask for that. Remove that. They asked for this. This is what they get. Sometimes we want to be real open and honest, and we're wrong. We should, but in reporting, you only give what they ask. No less, no more. If they say, show me how why your transportation is what it is, don't send them your salary. Send them the transportation. Don't send them your other operational costs. Send them your transportation. And all they ask for transportation. That's all you send is transportation. The moment you start sending more, because you got tired and you don't feel like sorting all this out, they get all that transportation in there.
And they start coming for you.
And then you're like, well, you only wanted transportation. Why are you asking something else? Because well, you sent us all of this, so we just took a glance.
Sent us here.
Right.
Might as well look.
Right?
I have a question.
Sure.
Because you brought the idea of in-kind.
In-kind donations?
In-kind donation. So let's say Jermaine is a beautiful soul and decides he's going to pay $2,500 for food. And he doesn't want me to reimburse him the money.
So in-kind donation.
So it becomes an in-kind. But how does he report it? He wants to report it for
So
his
he's
taxes.
on his taxes, what he's going to do is say he actually donated to your company in the value, what he feels the value is for what he donated.
But he can't tell me to write that number, right?
You wouldn't want to write that number.
Because somebody donated and now they want me to write the action. I'm like, I'm not an evaluator. I don't know how to evaluate that.
That's what they would have charged you if you paid them. So you would just write the number that you would have paid them in that.
So will I need an invoice at that point now again?
I would create the invoice, and they could put paid, or they can put in-kind donation on the statement so that you have that, and that's what that is. And then you can just leave it, and you can submit it with your paperwork, and that way your numbers they match it.
So the invoice that they create, I don't need to ask them for anything. I just have the invoice, right?
Right, and then say they would give 9 times out of 10 when somebody's finna donate to you, they would tell you prior to that this would be a donation, even though you might already have a payment for them. But if you would have done it, they would have already given you an itemized or a quote of what you're going to get, or what the services provide and what the cost is. You would already kind of have that. You would just for good practice, both of you would initial or sign it and date it. in-kind donation. So that way you know, they know, everybody's in agreement too. So when you're reporting it, you're reporting the same thing. In-kind donation in this amount. And it happens more often than not. Churches get it all the time.
Because this person gives us food, but we've never asked them for a receipt, and then at the end of the year they tell us this is what we
The
have
value.
posted, the
Yeah.
food. So I told them that I can write a letter, but not say the amount, because then I wouldn't know how to quantify.
So they need your letter for the write-off. So
Yeah.
you should have a donation letter, a received donation letter already put together. And you do write in the entity that is donating,
Mhm.
what type of services they provided, or materials they provided, and what that actual cost would have been. You do put that in.
And then do I put it on QuickBooks or?
You would enter it in QuickBooks as a bill, in-kind donation, or I should say, sorry, as a receivable, in-kind donation in the amount of from this company for this services or this material. You would put that in QuickBooks. You would create a receivable bill in that portion, and it would log it as an in-kind donation because you would have it categorized as in-kind donation. So at the end of the year, you would have this total of your in-kind donations. You would have your total of donations. You would have your totals of foundation funds. You would have all of those broken out for you like you needed to.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people QuickBooks is the one that you want to go. Now, any accounting system, but QuickBooks is free. So, and that's why, even though you don't like numbers, but numbers they are a part of what you do. Like I tell women to say they hate numbers, I said you hate it up until it's a sale. You see 30%, you can calculate.
Right.
Right.
I saved you, but how much did you spend to save it? Right?
To save it.
So you gotta look at, we don't like numbers is part of our lives. Like we can't get away from it. You get in a car, you got numbers. You go to the gas station, you got numbers. You go to the charging port, you got numbers. You got a cell phone, you got numbers. You can't get away from numbers. However, we can make numbers more digestible when it comes to business. We can make it a little more digestible. QuickBooks helps you with that. They make it that digestible.
Last question. If I don't want, so this is a company
Fun.
fund, and
You want to save expenses, right?
so no, like this, it's I've taken it to the business, and I have my fund, but we realized initially when we were doing the reimbursement, it was getting too much paperwork for me, so I was like, we just give the fund to the. Is there a problem with that? I just want to know.
No, so you can give the, like, what I used to do at my other company is we used to give a stipend for their personal cell phones because they were using it for business. So we would give a stipend to help offset the cost of it. We don't pay the full phone bill. We pay a portion of the phone bill. And we average that out to about 30%, right, of their phone bill that we would pay. Or you can set for just a flat rate of either $200, $150, or $75, however you want to set it up, whatever you can afford to do consistently. You can do it that way. And now when you can say this is, and it'll say it on the check, it'll say stipend for phone. It'll say it on the check, because it needs to say it on the check. Okay. So you can do it that way, where you don't have two phones and you're paying for two lines, so to speak, or you're paying for a line that, like I have, for me, my work, at my job, I have a desk phone, I have my work cell phone, I have a work laptop, I have a desk laptop, I have a desk computer, and that's a lot, right? But if we needed to cut expenses, I would say you can take away the cell phone and the desk phone and give me a stipend for my phone.
And that's 30% of the
It could be 30%, it could be, it's what you want to do. 30% is something that people do, but you can do a flat rate of just $75 if that's what you wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Right? You don't have to do a percentage, you can just do a flat rate if you want to. But I would recommend that before you set that price and before you confirm it, you confirm how long you can do it for. If you can do it for the whole, your whole fiscal calendar year, and it's not dipping into anything else that you might need, then you do it. Because like what you have for your current, I don't know if you guys have a grant where they actually pay for your cell phone, because you can get grants that can itemize out your cell phone, your business cell phone. You can get that, but you have to do talking. You have to explain why you would need that. Why is it important for you to have 2 separate lines, type of things. You can break that down. There's a couple of grants I work with that pay for cell phones. They pay for a hotline. They pay for the actual company's number that they do. You can get all of that done through a grant. When the grant isn't there, can you sustain it? Type of thing. So those are things that you want to look at, but that's why a bookkeeper and you knowing your finances help, because then you can make those, you can save costs by cutting where it doesn't impact in that type of way. Because if you rolled your business number or your cell phone, your business mobile number into your personal number, you know when the phone rings if it's work or if it's yours. You know by the ring.
Right.
So you can do it. You can always set it up that way. That's one way to cut costs and to create longevity. But I mean, those are things. But like I said, QuickBooks would tell you that. It would tell you how much you're spending on cell phone bills. It'll tell you how much you're spending on internet. It'll tell you how much you're spending on equipment. It'll tell you all of that when you set up QuickBooks. Spreadsheet can tell you that. But if you forget to log something,
In trouble.
right? And how many of us are so busy that we like, I'm gonna put that in later. And look, you see these gray hairs? You see these gray hairs? Later ain't an option for me. Later will be forgotten. Like, boy, I was supposed to do something. I'm supposed to do something.
Right.
Spreadsheets don't work for me like that. I need a system that when I go, I can register and be like, that's what that is. That's what that is.
And if an employee is submitting a digital through like Adobe, do I still need to chase the original?
No. So
the
additional,
copies-
because if you're gonna upload it into QuickBooks, like or a system like that, it's gonna be digital regardless.
Okay.
Digital now is fine.
Oh, okay.
Digital now is fine. There are rare occasions they actually want to see a wet signature, and that's 9 times out of 10 on a contract. So
So as long as they took a pic and send it to me, it's fine.
and the pic is readable. It got to be readable. Like people taking pics, I'd be like, that's just a piece of paper. They're like, no, here's the amount right there. And then you gotta play with the resolution and zoom in. No, I need click, and if I can do this and I can see the numbers, we're good. If I can't do that and read the numbers, it's not a good picture. So like I tell anybody, as long as it's readable and legible for everybody, we good. But like, you know how you can ball up a receipt sometimes, and then you got the bad lighting, they got the ink is real low, and you try to take a picture, you can't get that, then you have to bring that one in and scan it so that you have it. Everything has to be readable, because when you send it to the county or you send it to the city or you send it to the state, if they can't read it, it didn't happen, now you got a discrepancy. So that's the thing when you go to report. If they can't make it out, in their minds that event didn't happen, you spent money you can't account for, now we got a discrepancy. And discrepancies is what you do not want. Period. Because then you got to go hunt it down. And I got to tell people, the great thing about business cards, the business cards for the ATM or credit cards for the business, you can find that quick. Because you can have them run it to say when that transaction hit, where it hit, and you can go to that store this day, at this time, at this register, I need that receipt. And you can go get it. That's the problem. And they did that when we got into ATMs and you could do that, I was like, you go to this receipt or this place over here, this cash register. And you can go get it. You can go get a copy of a receipt from 3 years ago.
Wow.
Because they're gonna log it, they keep them for 7, we keep them for 7. So all documentations that you retain needs to be retained for 7 years. In
7
fiscal.
years.
There are some documentations that you gotta retain for 10 years in fiscal. But you can house them electronically for the same amount of time, as long as you can make sure you can get to that space, that drive. Yeah, see, we didn't hit a whole different area, huh?
Wait. You have to have the hard copy for 7 years?
The digital.
Oh, the digital.
Let me rephrase this. You have to have a copy.
Okay.
A copy.
For 7 years.
right? So if you go digital, go digital. Don't hybrid. If you're digital, go digital.
Okay.
Everything you have will be digital,
Okay.
all right? There are contracts you need to put that you scan, but you need to have the paper contract too. Contracts is one you gotta have, you gotta house. But I always tell people, put them in digital. You know where they are in the hard copy, because that way you ain't gotta touch it. You should have dust on it by the time you need to go get it. But, yeah. This is fun, man. I love this, bro. I love
Me
these.
too, man.
I love
Me
these.
too, man.
And I'm gonna have Miss Jordan create a dummy one, so that way we can actually go through it more in depth on a dummy versus we having to
Yeah,
float
right.
through, quickly just move over here so people ain't looking at stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my business.
Right. But we don't do that. But any more questions?
That should be good. The only thing that I would add that they asked was about the annual statement.
Oh, okay, so your annual statement will be, technically will be your balance sheet and your profit and loss. Will be your annual statement.
Is it possible to have another session with him?
Yep. Yep.
And it is like task.
I think this should be the first session someone has about what it's about.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm. Yeah.
I have to run because I have my son has a acne, dermatologist.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
most
definitely.
definitely, most definitely. Whenever he calls, I'm here for him, man. That's my boy
Yeah.
right there.
I mean, this is crucial information. I usually just get a bill and just forward the email to them.
Right. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to see it. I don't want
Me
to know.
too.
And I do it so fast. I'm like,
Right. Forward. Go. No.
Don't worry. See, our CEO, he's so.
And then I have a folder like just in case, and I'm like, I hope he checks his emails. So I just put it in a folder just in case.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, but it's just so annoying. I'm like, I don't know about all those cents. Where is 39 cents?
See,
Oh
but
my
see,
God,
like
this
our
is funny.
CEO, as big as YCD is, he has a CFO. He has multiple people in his C-suite, right? But we we had got a bill one time where it was past due, right? He questioned us, the fiscal team, like, why is this past due, right? But if he honestly, if he hadn't questioned us, we wouldn't have known that it wasn't hitting our mailbox.
What?
Mm.
Oh my God.
So that's why I say it's crucial that you have some knowledge, that you're familiar with your finances and your bills, because if he had never said anything, we'd have came in one day and there wouldn't have been no services.
Right.
Right.
But because he did, and we were like, well, why is it coming? And what happened was they had an error on their side and it messed up our email address and it wasn't coming to us.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had not opened that bill,
Right.
we wouldn't have known.
Right. And that even happens at home, right?
Yes.
Like I found something in our we were getting charged fast track. And now
Bro, they be trying to, man. Yes.
so what happened was we sold a car
Uh-huh.
and they didn't take it off of fast track, and they are traveling every day.
Ooh.
Every day. I'm talking about, for me, like, I come to San Francisco, but I don't come to San Francisco every single day.
Right.
They leaving every day. It's like charge. And then I go, baby, are you going to San Francisco? 'Cause I know you don't travel to get to work, She's like, yeah, like, no, like, I don't know why. I said, now, because it's fast track, I wasn't worried about it at first, because fast track, okay, fast track. And then I was like, hold on now. This is often.
Yeah.
They were charging us like weekly. Usually it's like, every few weeks.
Right.
Maybe once a month. This was
Maybe,
weekly.
yeah.
And so just to that point, it's just not even a matter of doing it because you love it, but just checking because, like you said, you just happen upon things.
Mm-hmm.
What is this charge? I don't even know where this comes from. Is it necessary?
That part.
Is it frequent?
Yep.
And you could just catch things just by paying a little bit more attention.
That's right. And then because you're small right now, right? I don't know how small you are, but
We are small.
because you're small, you know all your employees. As you grow, you won't know all your employees, but you will know how much you're paying out on a salary basis. That annual salary, that monthly salary, you'll know that grand total, because our CEO sees it every time we cut checks. He see that salary. And that's when, we hired more people? How many more people we hired?
Right.
He'll question that, like, hold on, where they at? Right? And if he had to let some people go, he knows that shit dropped. And if it's not dropping, why they still on the books? Good, these are things,
Right.
and you're gonna get there.
Well, I just started this nonprofit for the African community here, provide resources, and I might need some help,
Gotcha.
like just setting up. Like I'm basically the one doing everything,
Gotcha.
working for free. So I'm so mad with this Dream Keepers money because this is a dream nightmare.
Yes, it is. So there are colleges. I will check with the San Francisco City College to see if anybody is taking up accounting,
Yeah.
and if they need earned income credit, where they can actually come and volunteer, work for you, and earn credit for school while they volunteer for you to do
Right now
books.
we got an office.
See?
But we don't have no computers, no Wi-Fi, nothing, like operational costs.
So
Right.
right to, are you an Apple person or are you a
Apple.
so y'all
I
like
even
Apple?
created an Apple
Account?
business account.
So I would write to Apple and say, hey, we're brand new nonprofit, we just started up, we have our business, we are in need of donations, and we would love if you could donate laptops.
Do you have an email address?
I don't.
But I don't work for Apple, but yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's been done from other businesses that I work with. They've done that, and Apple has donated.
Oh, wow.
Apple, they will donate it, and all they need is your letter stating that they donated, and it's an in-kind donation in this amount, and you got free laptops. You got free laptops, and you can even,
Yeah.
every now
Right.
and then they will, if you let them know what you need,
Yeah, yeah,
they donate. Not what you want, what you need.
Right.
yeah.
Because a lot of us want the laptop, the big computer, and the tablet.
Oh,
Right.
Just enough.
With need laptop, they may give you laptop.
Yeah.
Or
We just
Vision
need, like,
Pro.
2 laptops in the desk.
It's like, I need that, I'm sorry, I
And
need
you
it.
write to them. Togos will donate, they do donations for food. Sandwiches, Togos, they do no donations for nonprofits for food. Like, but it's not, you ain't getting no gourmet nothing. You're getting standard little sandwiches and stuff like that. But I'm saying, like, when you got people coming over and you don't have finances for the food, they will donate to you for food. But these are things that you look
What's the
at.
name of the company again?
Togos, the sandwich spot. A lot of places do. Safeway donates, Lucky's donates, Costco donates, because you guys are small, they won't have a big issue with donating to you. Now, like, to donate to YCD, they kind of cover quite a few people. It's like, no, bro, we take a big hit.
Right.
But smaller companies, they will donate to. Okay, so you can definitely look at that.
Yeah, I just want to know how to set up the QuickBooks and just where I can be putting in, like, you know, if I have a bookkeeper, we don't have to fight. Like, just go
We don't
there.
have to fight.
Just go there, let me sleep.
Right, so.
Right. It's
Like I
there.
said, if you check in with the colleges, they may have people that can intern for you, for free for you. Or they can go through a different nonprofit and get paid to work for you, to
What?
set you up.
Oh, good.
Wait,
Okay.
say that again. There is a non-profit that can pay someone to work for me?
Yep.
Which one is that?
I don't know, like, I'm not good with San Francisco. But there are organizations here in San Francisco that will do that for people that are trying to get experience to get to those jobs. But you just got to do some research on that part. But they are,
Okay.
because we're getting some interns for us that is being paid through somebody else to work for us for just the summer to help us clean up.
Oh,
some
that's
of-
for opportunity for all?
I think so.
Oh.
But that's open for you too, but you just gotta
Oh,
search
shit.
for
They
it.
will know, that money revolves around the gatekeepers, you know how corrupt it is.
But I mean, for the intern help,
You know, this is
you can use it for the
Yeah,
intern
but we
help.
don't get the money,
No,
so,
but they would pay the people for you. So you wouldn't
Okay.
have to pay, you wouldn't have to worry about them. They'd just come work for you. You just need
Yeah.
to let them know that they put in this many hours so that they can get paid. But you don't have to do the bookkeeping or anything. You're not responsible for them, for their
Yeah.
pay.
like, we have, the Africans really don't get a lot of resources here. And what we're doing actually, I mean, he takes kids to Africa. We don't get funded. So that is the
Awesome.
frustration we have with the city.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
there's
right.
no equal distribution of funds and, you know, so
Yeah.
it's just so frustrating. I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go to consultancy.
I feel you. I do feel you, but most nonprofits who start off, especially I've worked for a lot of startup nonprofits, they all feel that way. They all feel like you feel right now.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
was it the San Francisco Arts where they're like, oh, you need to be there for like 3 years. I'm like, what about the ones who are studying because they saw a niche?
Right. And that's and what they do is they're weeding out the people who only want this for the money. The people who actually are doing it for the love of it,
Yeah,
they'll stick it out.
we are good level.
Right, right, but you're right. I feel you. I'm not saying you're not, right? But I'm saying for those, like, you know how I'm gonna take it to courting and dating, right? If you're courting somebody or dating somebody, just because they look good, sound good, and they got a good statement, don't mean that
Yeah.
they're good, right?
Right.
They gotta run through some trials and tribulations to see if they're gonna stick with you, right?
Right.
You gotta do the same thing with the county in the city. You gotta go through some trials and tribulations. If you're there after all of that, you gonna get money. But I mean, we had to support this one entity for a minute before they ever got granted. And when they got granted, it wasn't a lot, so we still needed to support them until they were able to actually go get that bigger money. But it took 2-3 years for that organization.
Yeah.
And so what you need is a fiscal sponsorship.
Why? We're a 501.
Right, you can have a fiscal sponsorship, 501
For
c
them to give you the money.
Oh, to give us the money?
to help you get the money.
Right. Say, whoa, watch it now.
Yeah,
Right, right.
Shani,
Like,
I think
because
we'd
they-
appreciate to have more time
Yeah.
with him. And yeah, this was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to rush before that teenager texts me.
Don't worry.
Right. We
I'm with you.
understand.
It was
Yeah.
nice meeting you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate
Wait, are we
it.
done with class?
Thank
or-
you so much.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
It was such a pleasure to
Thank
meet you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know you was working.
We'll be talking next week,
So
so.
everything, I was hearing everything.
Uh-huh.
I'm a multitask.
I ain't mad at that.
Do you have a card? Do you have a card? Oh,
Oh,
you will share
I'm
information? Okay, cool.
And whenever he need me, he know I'm there. And
work
then,
at the
you know,
center?
because it's his thing, I just rather support it.
It's beautiful. That was beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
Yes, you guys have a good one.
But let's
All right.